Oh, hello. Wow. Oh my God. What's up, guys? How are my gooners today? How close are we to being done with Yemen? You know, I realized yesterday if I speed read these sections, I can actually, not speed read, but just like read without taking notes. We get through it quite a bit. How do you get over one-itis? Stop stalking her social media. Find a replacement ASAP. Go gay. What are you asking? What chords these are? Bum, 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 bum. Huh. That's because I had perfect pitch. That's why I knew it immediately. I don't know. I usually just find the top and then just go down by thirds, I guess, right? Until you find out or thirds or fourths. G major, is it? It's not that. It's not that. I don't think it's that. Is it like... Is it this? Maybe? I don't know. G and like... Something like that. G, something with G and F sharp in it. Okay. Good luck. What is the rationale in a research paper? What is the rationale for having footnotes versus like, what do you call it when you have footnotes, but they describe everything? Like, I think if they included it at the end, you might call it like an annotated bibliography. Would you just call it annotated footnotes? Let's get Destiny on those videos with the musicians, hear it once and play it by ear. Yeah, that's not me. Nice try, though. It's just different style? No, it's not just a different style. It's better. Pretty sure that's just annotations for the passage and a footnote. Okay. Aren't the 2008 peace talks between Olmert and Abbas never talked about? Because I don't know anything about them. I don't know. 2008 was the Abbas peace talks. I don't know fuck all about them. You're talking about the DOI system? I'm talking about the fuck your mom system. Ugh, I don't know how to drag this paper onto my other computer. I don't think I can because it's PDF. Whatever. Can you explain your tweet? What do you mean males and porn is like Jewish conspiracies for women? Because women will blame everything on porn addiction. Every single problem they have is porn addiction from men. Which is wild. That's like, it's their Jewish 9/11. These are the footnotes I'm talking about. And that one paper I read, it was just, these kinds of footnotes are super nice. Where somebody will have a footnote and then, but they'll explain, like, they'll give like a big annotation here explaining why they have the footnote and what they think the relevancy is and maybe an explanation of it. I like this style of annotation is super, super, super nice. Lav lying about you. Lav?
Okay, I'll do that for you, baby.
Was your relationship opened for your husband to fuck Destiny, or is it for you to fuck Destiny?
For my husband to fuck Destiny.
Wild.
Yeah.
We only suck dudes' dick.
Aren't we? Isn't it kind of obvious that she's joking here, or?
Yeah, I mean, he was begging to suck Connor's dick for like a while. I was like, finally, like, yeah, I guess.
He opened it so he could suck his cock.
Yeah, and it was actually the first time I'd ever seen anyone, like, it's the first time I'd ever seen anyone do anything gay in front of me. It was pretty crazy.
Why did you watch it?
He's not bad at improv, I'll tell you.
Why did I watch it?
Why did you watch him suck your boy's dick?
I'll do anything once. I don't know. I was curious.
Oh, were you into it? Was it cool?
You know what? Lav's not joking, and this did happen, and it was awesome. Okay, yeah, we had a huge old MMF threesome. It's one of the peak sexual experiences of my life. Lav was there, screaming humiliating things at me the entire time. Besides the recent divorce memes, what was the longest bout of emotional turmoil you had due to girl problems? I don't know. I don't like to give advice based on how I personally deal with grief or bad feelings, or I don't know what the fuck, whatever challenging feelings. I don't know if my experience is typical or if for some reasons it's highly atypical. But I find for myself that as long as I'm staying busy and moving forward, that I usually get over things like very, 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 very quickly. It's pretty rare that I'm like upset about something for more than a few days or more than a week, I guess. Usually I just like keep on rolling. However, one thing I would say, though, is you can do that in a really unhealthy way, and you can do that in a really healthy way, I think. Because some people will just keep on rolling, and they'll accumulate a whole bunch of baggage and never actually, like, figure anything out or solve any problems or think about anything. They'll just, like, collect all this trauma, and they'll just keep pushing themselves until they have a major fucking breakdown. I think that it's important to Usually, if I have an event that goes really poorly in my life, it could be a debate that goes bad, it could be a friendship that goes bad, it could be a relationship that goes bad, it could be a mom fucking event that goes bad. Usually, I'll spend some amount of time, I'll sit down, I might even break out my notepad, and I'll just start writing things in terms of like what went wrong. Like when I say what went wrong, what I mean is what is an outcome I would have liked to have had that didn't happen, and then what outcome did happen. And then I would look at like, well, how did I contribute to the bad outcome, and what other contributing factors were there to the bad outcome, and then what was in my control, and then what could I have reasonably foresaw and changed in terms of my behavior approaching this particular thing. I think, I don't know if it's worth it to go into all of this, but like I think every single one of these steps I think is really, really, really important when you do retrospectives on bad events in your life, because if you don't do this process, I think you can start to accumulate a bunch of baggage and you're just kind of like setting yourself on a road to be fucked forever. But seems like people have this really strong feeling of ownership over their partner when they are in a relationship. EX Adam 22 being chastised for not controlling his girl. I don't know. I hope you appreciate how superhuman your emotional regulation seems like to many on the outside. I'd kill someone to be able to bounce back like you do. Yeah, I think some of it is probably unhealthy. I think a lot of it is healthy. Yeah, it really depends. You have to... fuck. I used to prescribe really hardcore based on my personal experiences, but I don't know how many of them are atypical, so I don't like to, yeah. When writing down what you did wrong to contribute to the bad, how do you keep yourself in check insofar as taking responsibility for that? Okay, we'll do this. Okay, if something is fucked in life, okay, usually we'll try to evaluate the actual outcome versus the hopeful outcome. Maybe there are multiple ones, okay? When you're looking at what actually happened versus what did happen, then I'll try to think of like, what would it be? It would be how much did I contribute to the situation versus how much was externally driven, meaning outside of my control, or outside of my, well, these words are important. I'm sorry, hold on. Reasonably outside of my control. How much could I have reasonably foresaw to avoid said situation or effect a different outcome? And then 4 is permanent behavior modification going forward. I think these are the steps that I try to take if something happens. I think you should probably go through, I think that every single person I think should probably, I don't have these like formalized, sometimes there might be 5 steps or 3, or I might split somewhere, but like, so I think some type of process like this, I think you should always go through every single time you have like a bad scenario, I think. I'm trying to think of we could look at like, for instance, like Lav and Mr. Girl. Or actually I could look at the last situation. We can do this. So the actual outcome obviously she teamed up with Mr. Girl to write a big expose article on me to try to out me as some kind of sexual abuser. Obviously not good. Hopeful outcome obviously would have been remain friends, and then possible acceptable outcomes would be cordial stream relationship. So like somebody that would pop on stream or be like a business colleague or something, right? I think, and after this, one of the things that I tried to think about is how much did I contribute to the situation versus how much was externally driven, meaning reasonably outside my control. So at least insofar as lab, I would try to think, well, what are things that I did to contribute to the situation, right? So I called her a bitch. That was a big one. We hooked up. I mean, that maybe contributed to some extent. Gave her perms to join the stream. I guess these were things that happened. Yeah, I would say like these are things that maybe I did. Maybe external things might be, these would be, external things might be community response, evil whisperers, so other people talking shit about me to her, namely Mr. Girl. External community responses, so other people that see things on Twitter and everything. Her own reactions to other people fighting with her. Yeah, maybe I would like leave it at this, right? So then the third one is, how could I reasonably foresaw to avoid such situation or effect a different outcome? Wait, hold on. I should explain these more. On the first one, so evaluate the actual outcome versus the hopeful outcomes. I think when you're evaluating outcomes, it's important to, one, have like a realistic thing of like, okay, what was the actual outcome of the situation? When you're looking at other outcomes, you can look for a hopeful outcome. There's not always, or there's very rarely ever like two outcomes though, right? There could be other acceptable outcomes as well. So for instance, maybe you go to propose to somebody and you're thinking, well, they could say yes, or they could say no. That's not actually the only two outcomes. They could say yes, or they could say no, but maybe in a few months, or they could say no and now they want to break up, right? There's potentially, there are lots of different outcomes. Don't ever get hung up thinking that like there's only one good outcome for a given situation. Even if something went wrong, there could have been potential other acceptable outcomes that you just missed as well. Always keep that in mind too. When you say, how much did you contribute to a situation? I'm just looking for actions that I did that I think reasonably could have led to, I'm looking for actions that I could have done that reasonably led to the outcome that happened, that probably is avoidable. So possibly having a sexual relationship maybe complicates things. Calling her a bitch on that one stream, I think really triggered the fuck out of her. Maybe giving her perms at all to join the stream, triggered the fuck out of her. Maybe having close friendships even with streamers, influencers, I guess could have triggered or kind of contributes to it, right? These are all like things basically. And then for external things, you've got like my community response, you've got other people that might be talking to the person, you've got other communities responding to things, and then you've got how they deal with things that is outside of your control. This is a huge thing. You cannot control other people as much as we might desire to. This is why I unhealthily separate from everybody, because I don't like being out of control of people. But yeah. When you look at, so how much could I have reasonably foresaw to avoid such situation and effect a different outcome? Sometimes, okay, so on part 3, I think a lot of people will get caught up when they're evaluating bad situations, and they'll get caught up on this part. Reasonably foresaw is really important. Sometimes people will just think, that I shouldn't have done this because this bad thing happened, and that can actually get you into a really, really, really big mindfuck state. So for instance, let's say that I'm driving my kid to school. Let's say that I leave the house late and I drive my kid to school, and on the way to school, a drunk driver T-bones the car 90 miles an hour, unseeable, hits my car from the side, kills my child, right? It's possible to come out of that thinking like, fuck, like, it was all my fault, like I left late and oh no. Like the actions that you took didn't lead to that outcome. And the idea that you could have reasonably foresaw that driving your child to school, even if you're late, unless you were driving recklessly, the idea that you could have reasonably foresaw that outcome would have been linked to your action is really, really, really dumb. So yeah, when you're trying to determine like how you could avoid things in the future, you have to stick to things that you can reasonably foresee. Meaning you've got to go back in time, and you've got to be able to go back and do like an analysis of what's the information that you could have had available at the time, and then what's the information that you could have had to make a better decision going forward. because if we look at that thing where a lot of people blame themselves on catastrophic things, where they'll say like, oh yeah, like, well, what should you do? I just shouldn't have left that money. I shouldn't have driven to school. Like, no, come on. What are you're gonna never drive your kid to school? That's retarded. Come on, that's fucking stupid. It's foreseen, not foresaw. Foreseen. You could have foreseen. You could have foresaw. You could have foreseen. Sure. Yeah, but yeah. So that's what I mean when I say reasonably foreseen. So like things that I can reasonably foresee to avoid said situation or affect a different outcome. Basically, we're looking at like, okay, well, I think typically here we're looking at the actions that we took that were leading to this, and then we're seeing like what actions could we have changed here. So for instance, for call her a bitch, it could have been like, been more polite / more explicit privately over conversational boundaries. In terms of hooking up, it could be no sexual relationships with anyone ever coming on stream. It could be giving people perms to join. Don't give perm, or what would it be? Audit who gets perms more strictly. And then for having close friendships with streamers or influencers, don't make streamers, influencers, friends. One thing I will also say is that when you're trying to think of like actions that you can take to avoid things in the future, if you're ever like actually writing stuff like this down, don't write vague shit like this. It has to be like actionable stuff. If you're just writing fucking dog shit, vague shit down in like a notebook, like be more careful in the future. Like, okay, what the fuck does that mean? You're not going to do anything, right? So like audit who gets perms more strictly that's a little vague. Maybe I would think about it, right? And then, so after we've done this, like, so I'm pretty sure the goal would be like, if I look at all of these things, I would have taken these actions instead of these actions. And all of these are reasonable things that I could do, right? Explicitly regulate boundaries, no sexual relations with anybody on stream ever, find a way to more strictly audit who gets perms to join channels, don't make streamers or influencers your friends. If I do all 4 of these things, it counters all of my contributions to the negative outcome, and I would hope that this would have avoided the actual outcome that we want to avoid, which is what happened, right? Which was this thing, right? That's the goal, how this all connects. And then when you come to the end of permanent behavior modification going forward, at this point, you have to look at like what you've got here. I think on what I would, I guess for this purpose would be for step 3, and like what are behaviors that you would want to make changes to going forward. So like being more polite or more explicit privately over conversational boundaries. I don't really care to be more polite. I don't care about this. More explicit private over conversational boundaries. Maybe more strict check-ins. Over boundaries. So these are things that from that situation I've tried to do when I have people on stream. I usually try to be pretty explicit about like, I've done this in the past too. Don't know if I probably did this with Lav. I probably did actually. I would have to go back and check. But like this is something like very, very strict check-ins, talking privately. Are you okay if I do this? Are you okay if I do that? Blah, blah, blah. That's like a really important thing. No sexual relations with anyone ever coming on stream. I foresee this causing way more problems than not. A couple that I can think of is that 1, you can very quickly tell who I've had a sexual relationship with, which I think is inappropriate based on who I bring on stream. And then 2 is that if I ever have a sexual relationship with any other influencer or talent or whatever, and now there are conversations or something going on my stream that they'd be relevant to, now they're banned from coming from my stream. They're basically punished for having a sexual relationship with me, which is stupid. Yeah, this is, so I feel like, and then, yeah, so I don't think this one is very realistic. So like we would just like X this one. In terms of auditing who gets perms more strictly, I think all of the outcomes related to the conversations, I don't think I would take back any of those streams. I think they were just way too good. But Mr. Girl Lav, Annalicia, all that stuff. I think the perms right now, I think they could deal with some improvement, but not related to a situation like this, I wouldn't say. And then don't make streamers or influencers friends. No, I like having streamers and influencers as friends. I think I'm willing to accept that there are going to be some bad outcomes, but I think it's fun to like hang out with these types of people. I think it's also worth looking at external things here that you control for. So in terms of community response, I can't really control how my community responds, but I can kind of guide it. So like one of the things that I've kind of implemented is I try to do this. I did this with Lycan. I think I did this with Wicked Supreme. I've done this with a couple of people. When people are getting a lot of hate threads, I'll be like, okay, hey, one thread. If you guys want to criticize somebody, one thread for it. We're not going to do the 52 million threads. I try to do like the 3-day rule for shitting on people. So like for community response, it might be like more regulation of hate threads. That might be a thing, right? Oh, I did that with Pisco, right? If you disagree with Pisco, and you should, because sometimes Pisco is wrong, that doesn't mean he's like a fake lawyer or whatever. Those types of attacks are not needed. We don't need that. In terms of evil whisperers, my thing is just because of the person I am and because of the people that don't like me and everything else, I don't like if I feel like somebody's being like turned against me or influenced against me, I usually just cut that person off completely because I don't have time to keep up with all the gossip or whatever. And if somebody wants to believe somebody else that I'm an evil person or rapist or whatever, I just cut the person off. This isn't really a behavior change though. This is just like I just do this. And I think that probably more or less happened. I think with Lav, once her and Mr. Girl started to kick off a lot, I'm like, this is dumb. Audit who gets perms more, or wait. Oh, other community responses. I can't really do anything about this because I just can't control external communities. Maybe bring this up to the person coming on stream. I've done that before. Like, hey, are you sure you want to have this conversation? Like, there might be other people respond, but people just aren't even really aware of that. And then for the other person's reactions to other people, these are like two really, really, really huge things that I changed when I evaluate other people is I no longer assume people are people. I no longer assume people have a strong sense of self-preservation. And I limit certain types of like mental illness. So like, for instance, I try not to, assuming I figure out in advance, I try not to be friends, for instance, with people with BPD. I'll try to avoid these types of people because it's too much. Even outside of like romantic relationships or whatever, it's just too much. I can't, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I feel like anytime I have like a major issue, I usually just delete these notepads. Sometimes I save them. But anytime I have like a big issue that goes on, I usually try to like do some sort of just like post-mortem to figure out like what happened. Like, okay, well, how did this fuck up? What did I do that fucked this up? What can I change going forward? And then I try to implement like changes in behavior going forward so that if there are outcomes that I don't want, that I can avoid these in the future, I guess, if it's something, yeah. Didn't you do the opposite with Farha? She was turned against you, and instead of cutting her off, you counter-turned her? Wait, when? For what? Destiny, that sounds kind of retarded. How do you anticipate how people will respond if you don't assume they have some level of acting in their own interest? I feel like doing the meme, assume the worst just fucks yourself more than it saves you. I try to have... now I'm trying to do a better understanding of, I try to have a better understanding of what I feel like is driving a person, because my assumption I always assume there was a base level of like self-preservation, some level of like Machiavellianism, some level of like, I'll do what I need to survive. That is always, that's like so baked into my mind. I apply that to every person. But like, so for instance, for Mr. Girl, I never would have conceived that somebody's narcissism could override their self-preservation, that somebody could feel so righteous on a certain cause and act with such indignation that they would, set themselves on fire, I guess to give light to their novel. I never would have imagined that a person could do that. I never, yeah. And then even similarly with Lav, I would have never imagined, I would have never imagined that. I was just inconceivable to me. But now I just delete that. Now I try to have like a more sophisticated understanding of like, okay, well, what do I think is like powering this person? Because I can't just assume that they've got like a high level of self-preservation. Because that just doesn't work. I don't even know if that works with most people. I'm not sure. Melina shit talked you to her. She was mad, and you had some big combo with her to convince her that you are not what she told you were, something like that. That was like a once in a lifetime. That was just a huge event. I'm not going to lose every single friend that Melina goes and shits on me to. I'm just saying, like, in general, if like random people in the background are talking to you, and you're like, oh, well, I heard this from this person. It's like, okay, if you heard that from that random person, then fuck you. Then go believe that person. I don't care. Yeah. That's my feeling. Do you apply these to moms as well? Yeah. It's a highly regarded security forum in Israel called IDSF, which proposed multiple solutions to the conflict. Won't let me link it, but you can Google reimagining the conflict. Would be awesome to hear what you have to say. Maybe we'll think. Anyway, oh, sorry. So I asked me earlier, like, how do you, like, you keep rolling forward? There might be some, like, built-in emotional thing that I have that just lets me do it, but I feel like this process helps because hopefully after a thing goes bad, you come off the situation, you reevaluate, and then, or you evaluate, and then you reassess your behaviors going forward, and you try to make changes going forward so that you're not, like, picking up a whole bunch of baggage every time you go through a bad situation. That's just kind of like what I try to do, yeah. More regulation of hate threads. Are you finally going to do something about those hate threads everyone see when they first Google my name? I believe in you, Crazy Fossil. How do you manage to be cordial with people who came for your career? My original response is that I'm like a 10-year-old who's like needs a nap. Usually it's very hard for me to stay mad at people for a long period of time. Sometimes this works out in my favor. Sometimes this probably works against me. I used to think that one thing that I wonder might be a complicating factor is I wonder if the fact that I've continued to excel in my life and the fact that the other people tend to kind of fail, maybe that helps. I'm not sure. But actually, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. I think you just, yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't think about it much. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think about them. I don't think about it. The song Civilization off that album slaps. I don't know why somebody sent this to me. Somebody said, why does this sound medieval? Who joined? Oh no.
Me.
Oh, what do you want?
I was curious, do you think that you use too much like game theory with people? Like you try to assume that people are rational and utilize like game theory
I think that
when people tend to be more emotional?
Okay, here's the thing that I think people make a big mistake on. Sometimes people will look at people as being irrational, which is true, but irrational doesn't mean random. So even if somebody's irrational, I think their behavior is still predictable, or at least there's like going to be a bound of predictability. So
yeah, for sure.
There are certain types of like things that I would have assumed. So for instance, like that self-preservation instinct that I no longer assume. There might be others, and I'll find out in the future, I guess, if people break the mold on that. But I try to take into account, yeah, people's emotions for sure. I think you have to take that into account for everything. So for instance, when I ask somebody like, or if somebody's like, oh, I really want to be on stream, I was like, are you sure? And like, yeah, 100% I can handle it. It's like, I don't know. Like, even though you're saying it and logically you think so, like, I'm pretty sure if we do this, I think it's probably not gonna be right. Like I've had this conversation with a lot of people. So yeah, you have to obviously account for the different emotional responses as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just like, whenever I hear you like think and talk through people, I always wonder if you're doing too much like game theory.
Well, I mean, game theory is just going to be I guess like the type of analysis, but like you're still going to be accounting for emotions in said game theory, right? Like,
Well, is it the problem with okay, maybe I'm not describing game theory properly. Maybe I'm understanding the thing wrong. Um, Chris Voss talks about like the negotiation strategies and how in a lot of like foreign policy, they would always assume in like business negotiations whenever that like everyone's being the most maximally rational and like rationality and like those sorts of things should be put forward most and emphasized most because that's what people tend to rely on for like major business decisions and any of these things.
Yep.
Whereas Chris Voss has been like, no, it's the opposite. Like none of this is true. It's like all feelings. Like, it's all feelings all the time. And so it's not unpredictable. It's predictable if you understand how people will react to emotions, which is like they will move away from things that cause them to feel negatively and move towards things that make them feel good. By and large, unless that person seems to have indomitable self-will or principle that makes them move opposite to what feels good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would have to look at his analysis of that, but I mean, I would agree and I would disagree at the same time. I would agree when you're negotiating with people that people absolutely always act rational, and I think they do. I think people act super rational. I think the problem is people think that rational means that you are logically trying to maximize whatever outcome you, not the other person, thinks is good. So, for instance, when somebody acts like emotionally manipulative or toxic, and other people are, basically giving in or enabling for their entire life, I think that the abusive person, I think they are acting super rational. They're taking the path of least resistance to get maximally everything they want. I think I would argue that that's a really rational behavior. I think they should do that. It makes sense. That's why, in order to break people out of those patterns, you've got to get rid of people that are enablers, because they as long as an enabler exists, and assuming people in the situation are acting rationally, the person who is toxic is going to continue to take that path of least resistance. Yeah. But that one guy might argue with me and say maybe that's like semantics, or like, oh, well, I would agree with you if you put it that way. But when people talk about like rational choices, they're really talking about people being like logic machines, which is stupid, I think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or like, because I think one of the biggest issues that even if you start, hey, don't bite. When you're starting to think about, sorry, not you, the dog.
I figured.
When you're starting, okay. When you're starting to think about like emotions, I think where people can get really confused is like the masks, right? So people will, for example, I think about myself. So when I was younger, I had really intense social anxiety, but I masked my social anxiety through like high levels of confidence and aloofness. And so people would assume that I wasn't anxious. They would assume that I was like distant and like uncaring, even though underneath. So a lot of my actions, for example, when I wouldn't go to a party that somebody invited me to, most people, if they're reading my emotions on like the basic level, are going to think she's not coming because she doesn't like us. Something probably to that effect if they're just reading like the mask. But if they understood like the nuance of me, then they would understand that I'm not going to the party because I'm socially anxious. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's where I think like the rationality gets confusing with like emotions and stuff, and like trying to understand people's like core.
I don't think it gets. Or I don't. What? Can you give me an example? Because I don't think any of that is confusing at all.
Mr. Girl.
Yeah,
Mr. Okay. Girl. So, like Mr. Girl, for example, or Mr. Redacted, or whatever you want to call him. Mm-hmm. His fundamental need, I think, is to like be the hero and to like be the savior and be like the right one.
For sure.
And he's like built like kind of this weird irrational like kind of like principle about it, where he believes like the more he fights against the world, the more like justified he is as like some like, I don't know, dark warrior or something, like fighting for justice in like a face full of like liars. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't say that he always presents himself in that way. He like tries to present himself as somebody who's like super authentic, and that's about it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like part of associating with other humans is we don't have access to their minds, so we have to, create these sophisticated models of actions and words and meanings and everything else in order to figure out like what we really think is behind a person's actions. But I mean, like we do that as people, and people have varying degrees of skill at it. Some are really good at it, some are really bad at it. It just depends, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, again, I think this is all just like part of the I'm trying not to use like the coldest words in the universe, right? But like part of the analysis, right? When you're engaging with people.
Yeah.
Like if you're a girl and you meet a guy, there was a girl I was talking about this the other day. When you're a girl, she told me about this guy that she met, and he's like, yeah, there's this guy. He seems like super cool. He told me that he like, he works like for a billionaire, and they like, they talk every day. And yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, like I know this is bullshit.
Right.
And they're like, what do you mean? And it's like, what does this guy look like? What does he do for work? And like, why is he, no offense, but like, why is he talking to you? Like, what do you mean he works right underneath a billionaire every day? So like, that's an example of like, people can present themselves as one ways, but I mean, like, obviously you have to evaluate like a totality of things to figure out if a person is being truthful or not. And then you also build up like a history with people too. But that's why I also say like, you have to have like reasonable expectations. Like some people are really, 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 really good at mind fucking people, or really good at lying or being deceitful. And ideally you develop some kind of strategy to protect against those people, or, you know, ways of weeding those people out in the future. Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I guess like when you look at people in the future, how do you protect further against people who like appear one way as like trustworthy or some sort of thing, but like aren't? Like, how do people go about cultivating that within themselves? Because it's super hard to sometimes see through people's,
For people that are trustworthy,
or anything, like any sort of trait. If people like say you self-describe as I'm a son of a billionaire, blah, 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 but your life doesn't match up. How do people figure out like what is true about a person? Like what is actually driving that person? How do they figure out a person's needs or wants enough to know reasonably enough how to predict that person?
It's, oh, Jesus. I guess, fuck. I don't know. I'm not even sure if I don't know if I even practice this skill at all. The way that I would always say it in the past is, usually I don't trust anybody until we've been through like a major situation. I'll say that. And then usually, yeah, that's like the first thing I'll say is that, like, if there's a situation where somebody could have fucked me over, then, and if they didn't, then that, like, they get a lot of credit for that. So that's a big thing. And then time is a big thing. Like, I think those are the two things that are really, really, really important to me. But other than that, like, I don't even know how to evaluate trust, or if you can. I think I've probably even told you this before, where you or other people ask me their opinion about somebody, and usually what I'll say is like, oh, well, I've known this person for whatever, I've never heard anything bad about him, but I wouldn't vouch for him. Like, I don't know, I can't say. They could be, I think I've said this line so many times, they could be fucking insane, and I just don't know. I think I've said this to people.
Right.
I said, yeah, yeah. I say this to people that I hang out with. They're like, yeah, you might be a fucking lunatic. I don't actually know, but who knows? We'll find out in a bit, or you'll kill me, or you'll be chill. Yeah, I don't know how to, in terms of long-term evaluation. Oh, I guess like normal people probably do it with friends. Like friends evaluate other people. Like, so if they've been part of a friend group for a long time and everybody is like chill and everything in there, then maybe, yeah.
Right. Or like they like prove, there's a skill in DBT where it talks about how like the only way to prove the trustworthiness of somebody is to like give them small opportunities to prove trustworthiness. So like you find the evidence for the belief by like acting on the belief itself in small ways.
Maybe. I think that the reason why I like the other strategy of like a situation where you could have fucked me over is because the way that I view this is, so what we're really trying to sort out is, we're not trying to find the difference between trustworthy people and evil, malicious people, or crazy, fucking horrible people, right? That's easy, right? You just look at somebody and they do crazy, evil actions. Oh, then they're crazy people. What we're really trying to figure out is how to discern trustworthy people from deceitful people trying to appear trustworthy. And the problem is,
Right.
is that a lot of tests that people have, I think, for trustworthiness are going to be easily passed by a person trying to present themselves as trustworthy. That's why I don't know how much I believe in like little tests. Like, oh, like a friend asked this person the same thing that I talked to them about, and I'm going to see if they shit talk me. And it's like, well, if they're trying to present themselves as trustworthy, maybe they're not. Like, they're going to pass those tests. The reason why I like the major fuck ups thing is because if that person has a huge potential gain that they could have from fucking you over, and then they don't take that, well, now they're either setting you up for a really big long con, or they're genuinely like a trustworthy person. That's why I like it. If the other person has an opportunity, like if I'm trying to figure out like if you're like actually super trustworthy, and I put like a $10 bill on my desk and walk away. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think you're going to like fuck our friendship up by like trying to take $10 or whatever. But if there was like
Right.
a button that you could push in my room to irrevocably like transfer like $5 million from like an investment account into like your bank account, and then when you push that button, you never have to see me again, and you've got the opportunity to push that, and then you don't do it, well, that says a lot more. It's a lot different, you know?
Right. So I guess two things. Number one, I feel like there's three types of untrustworthy person, because you said there's a person who can like fuck you over. There's a person who appears disingenuous and there's a person who tries to appear genuine and is not. But I feel like there's a much more common third, which most people fall into, which is they are really genuine until essentially some sort of emotional like strain or pressure appears enough that causes them to have to like work against what they were trying to do. So like they were trying to be a good friend to you, but now they're between you and another friend, and fundamentally they're like more loyal to the former friend than you. So then they kind of fuck you over. But it's not because they actually are disingenuous people holistically. They're just a little bit like, if push comes to shove, they will pick certain things maybe that feels better. And it depends on the person, right? Like depends on what's going to make them choose friend A over friend B. Like it might be
Yeah, I mean,
clout,
I guess
it
that's
might be
possible. I don't know if I would
connection.
I would have to consider that a lot. Because I don't know if that
Or do
even
you not consider that disingenuous?
yeah, I don't know if I consider that disingenuous. It depends, right? Like if I was
Yeah.
going to do something and I, ask somebody to keep a secret, but then like the other person, like let's say I was like, don't tell anybody, but there's like this taco place down the street and I actually steal like $200 from the register every night. But let's say that you're actually like super close friends with the owner and you tell the owner, like, are you being lying or deceitful to me? I mean, like kinda, but out of like a principle to loyalty to somebody else, I don't know if I would consider the same thing. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
I think it's a reflection of other types of principles. Like if you're being more loyal to somebody else than me for what I would consider a lame principle, then I've just misjudged the person's character. That's not even necessarily deceitful. I've just like made a bad character evaluation, which is also hard to do in the streaming space too. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the issue that you're running into with like generalizability is the situation where somebody can fuck you over almost never occurs for more normal people. Like it's
Correct.
very rare in social circumstances. Freya, get that you would need to, for example, fuck over a friend. Like this is why most normal people when they come onto stream, it's like a mind fuck because there's just like we said, there's like these perverse incentives that exist that
Yeah,
don't
there's a
exist
lot of different
in
types
most
of
of the
pressures.
spaces.
Yeah.
Maybe corporate. I've heard corporate spaces that are really like cutthroat can be similar
Sure.
in like the backstabby nature. But most workplace, I've never worked in a workplace that you're incentivized ever to backstab.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably true because we have like a lot. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like socially, how would like humans are social creatures? We need tribes and stuff to survive. How the fuck would it make sense if you could, with no consequences, backstab the fuck out of everybody in your tribe constantly? Like these people are probably excluded like crazy,
Yeah, for sure. Freya, stop biting. Come here. Okay. That's the horse you're gonna ride when you come down eventually.
Base.
That one right there.
Sounds good. Nice.
But
I'll make sure to bring Vosh with me.
okay, yeah, please do. He's got a big dick, so.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, have
Just
fun.
wanted to see your thoughts on that. Goodbye.
Bye. When are you gonna talk to Caleb Hammer? Whenever he wants. I don't know if he will, but. I don't even know what we would talk about. Oh, apparently the oh fuck, my brain just wiped. How to reach up to you if I have a merchandise idea. I tried all sorts of ways, but I can't get a hold of you. Post in the subreddit, okay? Oh, his apparently he's friends with the Iced Coffee podcast guy, and his community is like fucking revolting. And I haven't watched to see like what they're actually revolting about. Somebody asked why this sounds like medieval or whatever. I don't know if you ever took like a music class. But there's like principles of like classic harmonic arrangement or whatever bullshit. And if you're like following these rules, it probably is going to sound like old shit. It also sounds like harpsichordy a little bit. But if you have like a oh shit, that's not it. Sorry. like anything that sounds like this is going to sound like, oh my god, that's classical music. Whenever you have like very straight eighth notes, like very diatonic functional harmony. None of those words mean anything, but it's like all going to sound kind of like that. Church music is a really good example, yeah. Can you bring Benny Morris as your partner? Maybe. Okay. What? Okay. Same about links we clicked on. Is there anything good here? Okay. People really want me to click. I don't know what I'm supposed to say about these other than he's insane. So he said Glenn Greenwald cheat sheet. I think this is the same thing that Pisco linked me, actually. Stop the presses. Hamas militants have day jobs. Let's assume the horrible, awful, godforsaken war. Several of the 3,000 Hamas militants involved in the October 7th attacks worked at UNRWA. Others, no doubt, worked in hospitals, bakeries, banks, and schools. So what? UNRWA employs 13,000 Gazans. The miracle would be if none was in Hamas. This story, even if it were true, was obviously contrived to distract from the ICJ decision and punish UNWRA. I guess it changes sometimes. Outspoken UNRWA head Filippi Lazzarini was quoted twice by the American judge reading the decision. The sadistic Western powers led by the U.S. and including Germany, Japan, Canada, Netherlands, Britain, Australia, Austria, and Finland have now suspended aid to the starving people of Gaza. Our one hopes the great Houthi people, while carrying out their humanitarian mission, will take special note of ships from these countries. Wow. That's a little bit unhinged, but okay. I will say that you should be cautious and careful with those initial findings that were reported. I think I read this earlier today. So this says, I would be very careful about this. Around 10% of Palestinian aid agencies' 12,000 staff in Gaza have links to militants, according to intelligence dossier. This links part is going to be really important because, like, if it's like a family member, is that legitimate? Like, are we disqualifying aid? Or are we disqualifying financial support to UNRWA because of like family members of UNRWA? That would be too much, I think. Dossier, sorry. Don't I know I have a Wall Street Journal subscription. I must. I know I do. Wait, listen. 2 minutes. Oh.
Intelligence reveals details of UN agency staff's links to October 7th attack.
Thank you.
Around 10% of Palestinian aid agencies' 12,000 staff in Gaza have links to militants, according to intelligence dossier. By Carrie Keller Lynn and David Luno. January 29, 2024, 8:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Tel Aviv. At least 12 employees of the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency had connections to Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, and around 10% of all of its Gaza staff have ties to Islamist militant groups, according to intelligence reports reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. 6 United Nations Relief and Works Agency workers were...
How long would it take to hire somebody to read this? This AI voice sucks.
were part of the wave of Palestinian militants who killed 1,200 people in the deadliest assault on Jews since the Holocaust, according to the intelligence dossier. 2 helped kidnap Israelis. 2 others were tracked to sites where scores of Israeli civilians were shot and killed. Others coordinated logistics for the assault, including procuring weapons. Of the 12 UNRW.
Wait, do I not have a Wall Street Journal subscription? No shot, do I not? Please tell me I do. How many of these stupid things? Oh, I do. Okay. Paste. Okay. Oh, I have an account, but I'm not subscribed. No, wrong one. Whatever. At least 12 employees of the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency had connections to Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, and around 10% of all of its Gaza staff have ties to Islamist militant groups, according to intelligence reports reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. 6 United Nations Relief and Works Agency workers were part of the wave of Palestinian militants who killed 1,200 people in the deadliest assault on Jews since the Holocaust, according to the intelligence dossier. 2 helped kidnap Israelis. 2 others were tracked to sites where scores of Israeli civilians were shot and killed. Others coordinated logistics for the assault, including procuring weapons. The 12 UN RWA employees with links to the attacks, 7 were primary or secondary school teachers, including 2 math teachers, 2 Arabic language teachers, and 1 primary school teacher. The information in the intelligence reports, based on what an official described as very sensitive signals intelligence, as well as cell phone tracking data, interrogations of captured Hamas fighters, and documents recovered from dead militants, among other things, were part of a briefing given by Israel to U.S. officials that led Washington and others to suspend aid to UNRWA. Intelligence estimates shared with the U.S. conclude that around 1,200 of UNRWA's roughly 12,000 employees in Gaza have links to Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and about half have close relatives who belong to the Islamist militant groups. Oh, so these links don't just include only relatives or whatever, I guess. Both groups have been designated as terrorist orgs by the U.S. and others. Hamas has run Gaza since the 2007 coup. UNRWA's problem is not just a few bad apples involving the October 7th massacre, said a senior Israeli government. The institution as a whole is a haven for Hamas's radical ideology. And UNRWA spokesperson on Monday declined to comment, saying an internal UN investigation into the agency was underway. 2 officials familiar with the intelligence said the UNRWA employees considered to have ties with militant groups were deemed to be operatives, indicating they took part in the organization's military or political framework. The report said 23% of UNRWA's male employees had ties to Hamas, a higher percentage than the average of 15% for adult males in Gaza, indicating a higher politicization of the agency than the population at large. Nearly half of all UNRWA employees, an estimated 49%, also had close relatives who also had official ties to the militant group, especially Hamas, the intelligence report said. Keep in mind that I think like an official tie to Hamas could mean that you like work in a hospital, because I think you're necessarily employed by the Gazan Health Agency, right? Or Health Ministry, sorry. Okay, everybody take a breather, okay? Hope you're having a good Monday, bud. I just want to see if you've seen my email. Listen, I saw it. I don't have time for business stuff, but I appreciate it. Thank you. The Trump administration suspended funding for UNRWA in 2018, saying the agency's mission was fundamentally misguided. The Biden administration renewed funding in 2021. The October 7th intelligence report seen by the journal identified as UNRWA Arabic, identified an UNRWA? And you? Would you say and you? I don't know. Arabic teacher who the report said was also a Hamas militant commander and took part in a terrorist attack on Kibbutz Be'er, where 97 people were killed and about 26 people were kidnapped and taken as hostage to Gaza. Another UNRWA employee, described in the dossier as a UNRWA social worker, played a role in absconding with the body of a dead Israeli soldier who was taken to Gaza, the report said. He also coordinated trucks and munitions distributions for Hamas before being killed. A person familiar with the dossier said that after U.S. officials were briefed on the intelligence material, they alerted UNRWA, which put out a statement announcing the allegation that some of its employees were linked to the attacks and saying it had fired the employees involved, even when they were dead, and provided no details and didn't say how many employees were involved. On Sunday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he was personally horrified by the allegations. UNRWA Commissioner General Felipe Lazzarini criticized Western nations for pausing aid at a time when Gaza is facing a humanitarian crisis as the war between Hamas and Israel rages. Guterres also implored nations to not suspend humanitarian aid. It is immensely irresponsible to sanction an agency and an entire community it serves because of allegations of criminal acts against some individuals, Lazzarini said. UNRWA looks after more than 5 million Palestinians in densely packed refugee neighborhoods across the Middle East, including the West Bank, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. But its biggest operations are in Gaza, where it looks after an estimated 80% of the local population and runs hundreds of schools and scores of clinics. Israel says it had... Oh, wait, this is a really long article. Holy shit. Wait, I thought this was a 2-minute read. Oh, no, wait. These are mostly comments. Sorry. Okay. Israel says it has documented deepening ties between UNRWA and Hamas since the militant group cemented its hold on Gaza in 2007. UNRWA has admitted to finding Hamas weapons stored in schools, and Israel has repeatedly said Hamas tunnels run under and through UNRWA buildings, as well as other civilian facilities. The former head of UNRWA's union in Gaza was fired in 2017 after Israel found out that he'd been elected to Hamas's top political leadership. The dossier is the most detailed look yet at the widespread links between the UNRWA employees and militants. It offers telling details regarding the events of October 7th. A math teacher belonging to Hamas was close enough to a female hostage in Gaza that he took a picture of her. Another teacher was carrying an anti-tank missile the night before the invasion. One UNRWA employee set up an operations room for Palestinian Islamic Jihad on October 8th, the day after the attack. 3 other employees, including another Arabic teacher at a UNRWA school, received a text from Hamas to arm themselves at a staging area close to the border the night before the attack. It was unclear whether they went. A different elementary school teacher did cross into Israel and went to Reem, a district where a kibbutz, an army base, and a music festival were attacked. One of the intelligence reports seen by the journal said a 13th UNRWA employee who didn't have a discernible affiliation with a terror group also entered Israel. Hundreds of Gazan civilians flooded across the border as part of the Hamas-led attack, Israel says. Teachers make up nearly 3/4 of UNRWA's Gaza-based local staff. UNRWA schools, which use textbooks approved by the Palestinian Authority, have come under fire for using materials that allegedly glorify terrorists and promote hatred of Israel. UNRWA says it has taken steps to address problematic content, but a 2019 U.S. Government Accountability Office report said that measures haven't always been implemented. Since October 7th, Hamas has stolen more than $1 million worth of UNRWA supplies, including fuel and trucks, according to the intelligence report. The intelligence assessment alleges that Hamas operatives are so deeply enmeshed within the UNRWA aid delivery enterprise as to coordinate transfers for the organization. This is similar to the claims being made about the Houthis as well, but... This.
President Biden taking his 2024 campaign message to South Carolina over the weekend as he works to shore up support, especially among black voters ahead of the Democratic primary there. The president ratcheted up his attacks on his likely November opponent, Donald Trump, with a series of harsh criticism. Here's a sampling.
You're the reason Donald Trump is a loser. And you're the reason we're going to win and beat him again. Donald Trump, when he was commander-in-chief, refused to visit a cemetery, U.S. cemetery outside of Paris for fallen American soldiers. And he referred to those heroes, and I quote, as suckers and losers. He actually said that. He said that. How dare he say that? How dare he talk about my son and all of us just like that? Look.
Wait, did Trump really say that? No shot. 3 years ago. Did I miss this?
There's a furious reaction today after claims that President Trump called fallen American heroes losers and suckers. A Twitter page titled "Not a Loser" is trending. My grandfather was killed by a landmine while freeing Europe, one veteran's family writes. He was 29. He was neither a sucker nor a loser. My dad served during Vietnam. Not only did he serve, he volunteered. Most definitely not a loser. Former Army Airborne Ranger, Bronze Star recipient, deceased, my brother, not a loser. The uproar comes after a New Atlantic magazine report about President Trump's visit to France in 2018 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Trump was scheduled to pay his respects at a venerated U.S. military cemetery where more than 2,000 American servicemen are buried. But he bailed out. The reason given at the time was that rain had grounded Trump's helicopter, and the Secret Service did not want him traveling by motorcade. His then Chief of Staff, John Kelly, a retired general, attended a wreath laying instead. The Atlantic now claims Trump told his senior staff, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers."
No shot. Why? Bro, why would you? Why?
It also says Trump referred to the fallen soldiers as suckers for getting killed.
Misa, VG, thank you for giving 5 memberships.
It's a fake story, and it's a disgrace that they're allowed to do it.
A fuming president denied the claims today.
It was a terrible thing that somebody could say the kind of things, and especially to me, because I've done more for the military than almost anybody else.
The Atlantic reporting is based on 4 cowardly anonymous sources who probably do not even exist. Meanwhile, within hours, 10 sources, 10, went on the record debunking these lies.
I stand by my reporting. I have multiple sources telling me this is what happened, and so I stand by it.
I mean, it's consistent with what he said in the past. It's not like unbelievable.
Biden pounced on the report today.
If these statements are true, the president should humbly apologize to every Gold Star mother and father and every Blue Star family that he's denigrated and insulted. Who the heck does he think he is?
Yeah, he kind of said similar stuff about McCain, yeah. Yeah, apparently that statement was confirmed by John Kelly, which was his chief of staff. All right. We're finishing this article, and then we're going to read a boring legal article. And then we're going to figure out the next arc for the stream, okay? How mad are you? You miss playing games? Nope. Let the forward party guy on. He's been waiting for a while. Oh, well. If the forward party guy is here. Hello.
Oh, hey buddy, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good to hear from you, man. Hey, you know what? I want to start. I need to sincerely apologize to you, my friend. I'm so sorry. I was reflecting a lot on our conversation, and I think I indicted you for things I think that like it was, wasn't your fault, and like I had no business doing that. Just to explain myself, I'm a very passionate guy, and I really, I don't know what I can do right now, right? I'm just a guy. Like I can tell you about like where I've been in my life, and how I've gotten to the place that I'm at. But I feel a strong compulsion right now in my life to like work to make things better for people.
Mm-hmm.
I've identified you as somebody who's like can be very helpful in that regard. It's clear to me that you have fucking really good head on your shoulders, right? And like it's clear to me that like people who are smart, who have good heads on their shoulders, who are capable, they need to work together. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm reaching out. I'm like, I don't know what I can do, but I know that like I've always been good at like I'm a technical product manager, right? So I've worked for a couple software development companies and tech companies and stuff, and I'm good at project planning. I'm a planner. I'm a strategist, kind of like you actually. You're a strategist as well, I've noticed. I also a little bit of a philosopher. I think a lot about philosophy, about like what should the world look like if we could rebuild this thing. Also, if you can tell, I'm ADHD as fuck, like clearly, medicated, but I don't take too much because it's, weird. But, like you probably realize it's somewhat of a superpower, right? Kind of helps you do a lot. All that is to say is that, yeah, I would like if somehow we can like work together in some capacity, to help like further political goals. And specifically, I realized, I don't know if you read my email, but a big part of the email that I said specifically was that I read, an article after that from, talking about something that Sam Altman from OpenAI says. He says, if you come to somebody and you ask them a specific question, and tell them what you want to do specifically, that goes a long way. Like a specific ask. And so that's what I want to do. I want to like come to you now, like in the future, not now, like, and I've got a couple. I want to come to you with like specific asks. And just, you can say yes or no, but I would just ask that, like, if I did say, hey, I got an ask for you, you just say like, yeah, yes or no, or give the one that I have upcoming, is I'd like you to review our party platform. We have a proposal right now on the table for the Forward Party, for California, Forward Party California specifically, for our party platform. And I would like if you could maybe review it and give some of your feedback, because I respect your feedback a lot.
Well, I mean, it's like you guys aren't going to change your party platform for me, right? I mean, what's the point of me reviewing it?
We might.
Where do I find this party platform?
Well, I have it drafted. I can send it to you if you'd like to review it.
Sure, shoot. Why not? Go for it.
Okay, I'll reply it to you, and no huge rush. We are moving along. We're having weekly and biweekly meetings with our teams and stuff. So the sooner would be better. But like again, I understand you're a busy guy. So yeah, so that's that thing. I don't want to, I want to respect you. I want to respect your time. Let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, those are the big things. The business thing in that email, I'm going to work on this regardless, right? This is a project that I'm working on myself because I genuinely think that and I appreciate if you kind of keep that confidential between us, like the idea of the business, but, I'm going to do it anyway because it's something that me and people I know want to exist, this app. So I'm going to just like build it anyway. I was just offering, if you wanted to get in on it, you're the kind of person that I would share something like that with, because I trust you. And I think that you would probably see it as like kind of a cool benefit, and then, whatever. And I wouldn't even really ask for much, honestly. Like I just, something that I've learned in my business, I've started like 4 companies now, and 3 of them have failed. One of them's kind of like done okay. Mm-hmm. And one thing I have learned is that if you want to work with somebody, sometimes something you can do is you can just give them a little piece of what you're working on. And so I'd be happy to just give you a little piece of what I'm working on, if you take a look at it. If you're like, hey, you know what, fuck yeah, this seems like a pretty cool thing, and I'll take a little free equity in exchange for, maybe some kind of collaboration wherever it could be. Cool. But I believe in that. I believe in like giving equity to people, giving people who you would find, like, here's the thing, like this is what I was thinking about, right? And I said this also in my email, there's clearly a disparity between, what you have to work with and what I have to work with, right? And, I applaud you for your efforts, right? You've done a lot. You've worked really hard over the last, whatever. I've been watching you since you were playing StarCraft, bro, like fucking 13 years or something. crazy, since no, it's probably like 2012, 2013, maybe, something like that. And dude, hell yeah, good for you, man. You've worked hard and you've earned it. And I realized that like, I'm not there. Like, that's not, whatever. So when you're somebody who's maybe of like, I hate to use the word, but like lesser value, so to speak, or you have and you want to ask something of somebody with more value, the polite and appropriate thing to do is to come to that person with something of value, bring them something of offer. Say, listen, I'm asking you if you can help me. Let me also bring something to you, right? You don't come empty-handed. And I've reflected on that, and I think that's important. And so that's why I want to offer you something genuinely. Like, if you're interested, I want to give back to you. That's what I'm basically saying. And it's like, I'm not asking you for like really anything else other than you just saying like, yeah, I think you might be somebody worth working with. And I see that because clearly, like, I see that you have value, right? And I think everybody does. Like, that's undeniable, right? I'm trying to show you that I also have value. And I'm willing to like prove that by giving you something. So
sure. What's the offer or whatever?
It's equity in an app that I'm starting, and I appreciate if we can discuss what it is. I kind of outlined it a little bit in my email to you, but I appreciate if you keep that confidential. I'm going to try and have it launched by this summer if I can. But yeah, I'm building it using Expo, which is a pretty cool like React Native framework that lets you have, native has APIs. You can access like the native cameras on both iOS and Android devices, which is cool. So I only have to have one code base, and I can publish both an Android and an iOS app off of it, which is pretty rad. So, and Amazon's got some really cool, like AWS has some really cool new services that I'm going to tap into. I'm using DynamoDB, which I don't know if you're familiar with database structures, like maybe in MySQL and Mongo. You've probably heard of these because I know you know a little coding. Dynamo is a like hash table style index key value pair table setup, and it's really good for high scalability, but a lot of people don't understand how to use it. That's why most people don't use it. But I took about a month or so to learn it because I think that it'll help scale the app really well. And then eventually we can use Dynamo even potentially for the Forward Parties app. Though actually I'm not 100% sure if that's the best. Anyway, not to like nerd out on you too much, but we can talk about like the details of the architecture, how I intend to build it, what the plan is. I'll show you what I've done so far. And, if you're interested, and again, like I said, I'm not asking for anything of you other than let's find a way to like work together and do something. I don't know.
Okay.
That's it, man.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know, like, sorry, I said okay, then I heard you, but like, I don't think I'm qualified to like take equity in apps or anything. I have no way of evaluating like what's good or what's bad. I feel like if you start a company, once you've like got it up and running for a bit and you guys have like a budget for advertising or something, I feel like it'd be a better place for me to plug in because I can't evaluate like valuations or equity or like anything like that, right?
What I will tell you is that you're a really smart guy with strong analytical skills, right? And so if I give you, if along the way while I'm building this app and I show you prototypes of what I'm building, you, I think, would be a person who would be able to give strong critical feedback, actionable feedback, right? This is a skill that not a lot of people have, but you have it. I try to have it as well. Is that when you give feedback to somebody, you tell them what they can do. You don't just tell them, oh, it's bad. You say, oh, this is not good because X, Y, Z, and here is how it could be improved, right? And that's why I appreciate your feedback. So that would be the value that you would bring. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, we could talk about where it would start and whatever. But like I said, I want to offer you something because like I said, I understand that like there's a disparity between us. So yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Sure, but like you understand that like I have no way of evaluating, like.
Understood. I'm okay with that.
Well, but I can't even give you feedback, right? Like I think I'm pretty intelligent,
sure
but part of my intelligence is realizing what I know and what I don't know. And there's no way I could give feedback. I don't even have a mobile app.
There is something that
website.
there is something that you could give feedback on, but we should talk about it in private if that's all right. It's did you read the email?
Yeah, I did, but I don't even.
Okay, do you see what it specifically pertains to?
Yeah, but I don't even have like any association with any of these things, like in terms of like apps on my phone or anything. So.
Okay, well let's, we can discuss that. Again, you can sleep on it, whatever, man. I'm just telling you, like all I'm saying is that like I respect you. That's all I'm trying to say, and I would like to find some way to get you involved in some of the. I'm trying to work on some stuff. I'm trying to work on some stuff that I feel is like really going to move the needle forward for a lot of Americans. Like I want to do that genuinely. I love this country, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like I bleed red, white, and blue. Like my grandfather was from Donetsk. He fought in the fucking Soviet army in the Navy and escaped the fucking Soviet Union, made it to Australia, and then eventually made it to Los Angeles, right? So like my family, I know what and I lived in Russia. Dude, I was living in Russia from 1998 to 2002. I was there when Putin first became president in 2000. I know what it's like over there. And I know, and people, I can tell you a lot of stuff. Like people say, oh, guns in America are a problem, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? Guns are like a little bit of a problem, sure, maybe whatever. But let me tell you, I know I've been places where they don't have them. And let me tell you, that shit's scary. It's scary when you go places where people don't have the ability to really, create their own communities by force if they need to. I've been those places. I've spent a lot of time in China, in Hong Kong, and I can tell you what it's like over there. And like I just, all that is to say is that I love America. And I think a lot of Americans don't understand like some of the value that we have here. And yeah, we haven't done everything right. I get that. We haven't done everything right. We fucked up. I get it. But we didn't fuck up. People before us have fucked up. And yeah, this is a fucking experiment, man. This whole fucking country is a huge experiment. We got more diversity here than people say, oh, Americans are so racist, so racist. No, they're not. Americans are not fucking racist, bro. Holy shit. You know what is racist? Chinese people. You go to China, everyone there's so racist. You go to fucking Japan, everyone's so racist. You go to fucking Northern Europe, they're so racist. Like Russians, so racist. Like America, we are like the least fucking racist country in the world. And that's no cap. That's no cap. I live in Los Angeles. Let me tell you, dude, it is weird. I went to my girlfriend, love of my life. Love this woman. I'm gonna marry her. We went to Minnesota this year to visit her family, and bro, it just weirds me out when I go to a place where it's all white people. It's just, that's how, but I love it. I love diversity. I really do. I think diversity is beautiful. And I think that's something that's, I think we should preserve diversity. I think it's something to be encouraged. Like, I'm an engineer, right? So I see diversity. I see every diverse point as a unique data point, right? And like, it's better to have more data points, right? Like you don't want things to all be the same. It's better to have, yeah, man. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I apologize, but I'm a passionate guy. I respect you. I would like to find some way to work together. That's
okay, sure. Listen, I'm going to give you 2 big points of feedback. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Please. First is, I think that if you're doing a pitch or if you're trying to accomplish something in a conversation, write down on a notepad in front of you, especially if it's digital, just have a very narrow set of things you want to cover and just stick to only that. I think that would help you for things, number one. And then number two, okay, not to sound mean or like a bully or whatever. Yeah, okay. In the capital world, equity means absolutely nothing for startups without any track record. Unless you already have like a huge like customer base or like a proven track record of successful businesses behind you, or other investors that are willing to donate or not donate, but invest some money that's like capitalizing your business and showing that your valuation is in a big, like good figure range. Like offering equity means nothing because a lot of people can come to somebody like, oh, I'll give you like equity in my business. Like, well, I don't even know what that means in exchange for my time or what. So I think the best thing you can do, okay, is if you have a good idea, build your idea, get like a working model, start acquiring some like customer base or generate some revenue or do something with it. And then once you've got those numbers, then you can take that for a pitch and you can throw it at somebody. I think that's like the way to go if you're trying to get people involved in your idea.
Listen, yeah, no, I agree with you. Like one of what I was saying is that, look, I have started, this is going to be my fifth business now that I'll be starting with this app. Right. So I've raised venture capital. Like I know how the process works, and trust me, I know how valuations work on companies. Like this is what I was offering to you is essentially a consultant's equity, right? So a lot of times when you have a startup and you want to work with people who you find that might have some value, whether that's like in their business connections or in their advice or in whatever it is, you offer them a very small percentage of equity. It'll be usually between 0.25% to maybe 2% of the company. And this is pre-revenue. And again, it doesn't matter because it's a free roll for you, right? Like nobody's asking for your money. All we're just saying is like, hey, just be a little involved. Be like, if we have something, there's a place you can help. You're gonna be like, yeah, you know what, cool. I'll give you the hookup on my contact or whatever because I got a little equity in this thing, right? So this is a very common practice, and it's actually a very smart practice because
sure, I understand what you're saying, and I love you and I appreciate you. And it is a common practice and it is a smart practice, but only for businesses that have some established like revenue, or for people with like huge track records. Like
that's not true, my friend. I'm sorry to tell you that, but I've worked quite a bit in like the startup space, and I'll tell you that this is a very common practice for startups. With all due respect, I'm just telling you, I've worked a lot in these, and a lot of startups. That's how they start up with tech startups. They, when they're pre-revenue, they say, hey, I know some guys who have some, you say like you go to somebody like a, I don't know, like somebody who's mid-tier, like one of the like Atlassian, CEO or CFO. And you'll say, hey man, I'm starting like a little finance app. You'll be like, hey, would you be interested? I'm going to give you a little consultant's equity. And they're like, okay, cool, 1%, cool, all right, yeah, let me know what you need. And then it's just like, hey, if I can hook you up with a little something, they got a little piece of the pie for that. That's all it is.
So if we think about it from my perspective, what if you had to guess, what do you think I would bill for like an hour of consulting?
Probably like I would say between $600 and $1,400, depending on what it is. But
sure,
probably
that's
around
fair.
$1,000.
Probably about $1,000, yeah, minimum, right? Yeah. Probably, yeah.
So
for an hour consulting, so you're offering me, let's say 1% equity.
Say 1%,
right?
Yeah.
How many hours a week would I be looking at for whatever contribution I'd be making to your company in exchange for this equity slice?
Probably like 2, something like that. 2 hours maybe.
2 hours a week. Okay, so
yeah, it'd just be like a phone call here or there, or maybe like a quick message. Look at this over.
Sure. Yeah. So assuming it's only 2 hours a week, right? So that's we'll say hypothetically that's $8,000 a month of my time. Let's say that we do this over 12 months, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at about a $96,000 lost opportunity if I just like sold straight consulting, assuming I sold at $1,000 an hour, right? For 1%, assuming you give me the full 1% and a half, for 1% of your company. So I'm hoping
so divide that by 100.
I'm hoping that
divide 96 by 100, and it's 10 mil.
Well, yeah. So like I'm hoping that at the end of 1 year, now for startups or whatever, it's probably gonna be longer, but I'm hoping that you're at least on track for at the end of the year that your company has a valuation of at least $10 million. For me to break, that's my break-even point.
Potentially, yeah. And again, that's assuming that it's like consistently that amount. But
that's assuming it's only 2 hours a week, and that's assuming I'm getting a full 1%. If I'm only getting a 0.5%, I'm hoping your company has a valuation of $20 million. But again, that's my break-even.
Yeah.
So why would I ever?
So here's the thing: is that I think the way you calculate your opportunity cost is like a little wrong, right? Because on the one hand, it's not like there's people just lining up to give you consulting, right? It's not like if you weren't spending time with me, you would instead be spending time with other people. You're not like booked up, right, with like all these people trying to pay you $1,000 an hour.
Well, there's two fatal flaws. Right? So one is I'm without getting too specific, I'm actually theoretically infinitely booked for more than that because I have a contract that I stream on, number one. And then number two, I don't even sell consulting services because it's generally, I just don't, because I don't think it's necessarily worth my time. But if I did, who knows how much I could book. And then number three, even absent any contract, I could just turn on my stream and stream for an extra however many hours a week, and I'd make donations. I could cover new content. There's other opportunities that could pop up. I'm just saying that with the equity offer is a really like, what I understand what you're doing, right? You're offering equity in exchange to a person that has some level of special expertise or can assist with the company and is motivated to because the increase in the valuation of the company that from the expertise. Yeah, of course. But one, I have no expertise in this area. I don't have any expertise for app building. I understand that I'm like tangentially related to the industry that you want to operate in, but I don't know fuck all that. Again, I don't even have a mobile app for my shit. I can't give any good feedback. I can't even give my own devs good feedback. KoK and Jader will complain about that my feedback sometimes sucks. So even on shit that I have,
sometimes you need somebody who can work with you on that stuff.
Sure, maybe, but I don't know if that would take the form.
I'm a pretty experienced developer. That's what I'm saying is that it's not. Look, it's less. I don't know what to tell you, Steve. This isn't about the fucking equity and how much money. This is not a money deal. This is hey, I want us to work together because I think we're both talented guys who can fucking probably make a difference in this world if we put our heads together. And let me throw a little fucking something your way because that's what I have to offer you right now. That's
but I feel like if you're,
what do you want? You want 5%? Let me give you 5%. Fuck it, bro. I don't care. I'm serious. I'm serious about this. I think that I respect you and I would like to work somehow together. And I'm willing to and again, I'm not going to ask you for anything more than what you want to give to me. Seriously. I mean that. You decide.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I think it's better to have a working thing and then to bring people on board rather than to have nothing and then bring people on board like hopes and dreams. I think it's good to have some kind of working model and then you bring somebody in and oh, I see potential here and then go from there.
This is what I'm going to do for you. All right.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you 1% of it.
No, I don't want any equity or anything right now. I'm okay.
Too bad. Too fucking bad, man. It's yours. I'm telling you that.
I don't even force me to accept equity from a company.
Too bad. Well, you don't. It's fine. You don't. I mean, you can do whatever you want with it. Seriously, I mean this. But like, when you want it, it's yours. I promise you that. I'm gonna make you this promise because like I said, I don't know. It seems to me that it's important, and and then when it becomes successful, then you can take it and you can say like, okay, yeah, this guy wasn't bullshitting me. That's all this is to say, bro. That's what I'm trying to show you is that I want to give you something up front, and I want to show you that it's valuable. And then you know, because like I understand that respect is earned. I understand that. So.
Sure, but I'm saying to give me something up front, just show me like a working thing. You're giving me equity in a company that doesn't exist yet that is worth nothing, so it's not anything, right?
Well, you got it, and you don't have to give me anything. So.
Okay, well, I got nothing.
And then once it's working, I'll show you that. Okay. Cool, man. That's cool. It's cool.
Okay, listen,
it's all good, dude.
When you have like a working
thing. I'm not the kind of I'm not the. I have like a login screen basically. And I built the database architecture. The database architecture is the most important part of building a mobile app or almost any app in general in 2023 is the database architecture, right? And it's the reason why like, you know, some apps seem like they run super fast and super snappy and other apps just like take forever to load is because, you know, there's a lot, you know, there's two basic main types of databases that people use. There's table style databases, which are like SQL, you know, where there's a column and a row, right? It's Excel spreadsheets, right? That's the most common style. And then there's subtables that you can link to and do joins and lookups and whatever, right? So you're just basically tables on tables on tables. Then the other kind of database that a lot of people use are NoSQL databases, right? These are they're basically what we call document style databases. So are you familiar with what a JSON document is?
I'm going to be totally honest. If I was building a database for an app, I would literally probably just copy paste an already existing database because I don't know why we would need to design novel databases unless we're doing some like insanely sophisticated actuarial work. Like why not just like copy paste somebody else's database and put the actual dev time into the content of the application?
Sure, I'll tell you why. It's because first of all, in the vast programmers are like hairstylists, right? Just because you're one doesn't mean you're good at it. Right, so you might look at an app, and you'd be like, "Oh, they already have this like database set up or whatever," and whatever. But it could be just like completely shit, and you don't unless you actually know why they set it up the way they did. You might never know until it starts, you know, running down like memory leaks or you know query times that are going into like multiple seconds, whatever it is, right? So all that is to say is that if you understand something and you understand what the purpose of it is, it's better to build something to purpose, right? If you're going to a you know, you're trying to look your best at the new, you know, whatever, you're going to the White House, right? Are you going to go to fucking, you know, Macy's and just buy it off the rack and wear it, whatever? Or are you going to like go and get something that like, hey, this is how your body fits. This is what's flattering to you. This is what you're trying to accomplish. You get something that's tailored to you, right? Every business is different. Every business has different business use case needs. And so that, you know, likewise, if you're smart and you want to do it right, you build the fucking database to the
yeah, but like, well, but let's say, what if there's like an amazing tailor in town and he can create the most custom, awesome suits ever, and the fabric is like the finest Persian cashmere, I don't know what the fuck ever fabric, okay? And he builds this suit for you, and then you get it. Well, what if that guy like moves out of the country and then you get a tear in your suit? Well, now what do you do with your suit? And nobody else can fix your suit.
Hopefully, if that guy was truly talented, then all the seams would be stitched correctly and he would have the right extra material underneath the cuffs. So if you have to let out the sleeves, you can do that, right? If this guy was really worth his salt and somebody knew the fuck he was doing, right, he would have prepared this for the next person who was going to take it over. So that's why you do it. That's why you do it the custom way, the right way. If you're smart, like, yeah, you can buy off the rack and you have it off the shelf. Then you run into these apps and end up having problems. They have to rebuild their databases down the line. It costs them, their server costs go through the roof. They're fucking, you know, they're running tons of like useless Lambda functions. They don't need to be running. So all the compute time is going up. Bro, like, what, you're going to try and argue with me? Like, what's the right way to build databases and stuff?
I would argue with you. Yes.
I hate to break it to you, my friend, but this is one of those few areas where I'm like probably quite a bit more knowledgeable than you. No offense.
You know
I think
what?
You're a lot more knowledgeable in a lot of areas, but this is the one where
you might be more knowledgeable on me because I don't program or know anything about it. You know what? You know what? If I had to bet $1 billion, if I had to bet everything.
Oh, hey.
If I had to bet $1 billion. Oh, wait, don't do this line. It's not yet. Hold on. Let me just finish.
Okay, not yet. Okay, yeah, man.
I was gonna say if I had to bet $1 billion, I bet that way more programs and apps and ideas probably die because of a failure to like design like something with good content than die because they didn't create like novel stacks or novel ways to query databases faster. In fact, I'm willing to bet that there are so many half-completed, half-finished novel solutions to problems where there was already something perfectly adequate that already existed that you could have lifted from some other place, and you could put all that dev work, all that time into working on the actual content that you're trying to do with your app. And then any support or whatever else you need for whatever database already exists, it's already all on the internet because you just lift it from somebody else and all the support already exists. Why design like novel solutions when we don't have like a content idea yet, right?
What do you think is a novel solution that somebody's developed that I'm even proposing developing?
I don't know, anything related to pouring a ton of time into creating a custom.
I'm using AWS's DynamoDB. It's a database designed by the best engineers at Amazon.
Oh, I thought you just said you were trying to create like a whole new database solution or something.
I am using DynamoDB, which if you had let me finish, I was going to tell you there's two basic main types of databases that people use. There's SQL databases, which are table style databases, and there's document based databases, which are like Mongo. However, there is another type that Amazon has developed called Dynamo, and it's really good. And if you know how to use it, it's actually like really brilliant, but it's not many people know how to use it. It has a specific use case for things where you know what your data access patterns are going to look like. So if you need to know like, oh, I need to find events in this city at this time, and you know that's going to be a common access pattern for users.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that sounds fine. I thought earlier it sounded like you were making
I'm not trying to reinvent. My friend, no, I'm not crazy, bro. I'm a good engineer. I promise you this. Like I'm a good one. I don't over engineer things. I use.
You're over engineering an app that has 0 daily active users.
No, I'm not.
You have a login screen.
Why do you think I'm over engineering?
You're spending all this time designing a database, bro. You're gonna have like 18 users. Who cares?
Hold on. Can we not like be like raising our voice? Okay?
No.
Okay. Well. Anyway, all that is to say is that I don't think that I'm over engineering it. I think I'm engineering it properly from the ground up. Is just say is Toyota over engineering their cars when they make sure that their suspension systems.
Toyota has hundreds of millions of cars on the road.
Okay, so what about Tesla before they were prefab? Were they over engineering when they decided to make the battery cases super bulletproof?
Yeah, there's tons of public documentation on how shit Tesla's infrastructure was until they got bigger. Yeah, absolutely. This is
also,
just part of growing a business.
Tesla did a lot of pre-sales as well, right? So before cars were on the road, they were already getting like customer payments, right?
Yeah. My friend, what is your name?
KoK.
KoK? What's your real name, KoK?
You know what? It's just KoK.
It's just KoK. Okay. Well, Hey, KoK. So I'm Andrew. Are you a developer?
I am a engineer. I am also a fellow engineer.
Okay, cool. What kinds of stuff do you work on?
Security products.
I'm a content engineer, by the way, guys. Don't let anybody tell you.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Have you ever built a web app?
Yeah, there's this website called Destiny.gg. If you go to it, there's probably like 3,000 people in it right now.
Nice. What tech stack are you using?
It's MySQL, PHP, some decade-old Go code, and it's working great. It's doing awesome.
I think that's a reasonable choice. I think for what you were building, I would probably say that was a good choice.
Yeah.
Because PHP has a lot of support behind it, and you don't need anything overcomplicated. Yep. In fact, the newest versions of PHP are actually pretty powerful. I don't know if you've checked out some of the newer releases, but yeah, for something like that, I would say that's fine. Now, have you ever built an app that's going to launch on Android and iOS?
No, because I don't have a need to. Because for 99% of shit, a mobile website is good enough. Not everybody needs an app.
Okay, so if just give me the benefit of the doubt here and say that for what I'm going to do, that that I would need it would need to have a mobile app on the phone, right?
You have a login page.
Just give me, yeah. So and let me just say that imagine this app is a type of events app where you need to be able to find events based on criteria, location, times, dates, etc. Right?
Yeah.
All right, and you're gonna have a bunch of users on this app.
How are we gonna have a bunch of users?
Well, let's say that's the hope, right? The hope is that eventually you're gonna have a bunch of users on this app, right? You want it to be built for scale.
Yeah, but how many users are you expecting? What's your expected user, daily active user?
Let's shoot low, 10 million to start.
No, I would like to, honestly, I'd love if I got 10,000, honestly, within a year. I think that'd be pretty rad.
I'd love 10K. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty rad. I'd be excited about that. So, okay, so now assume that we have this thing. and you're going to have like messaging built into it potentially as well as events lookup and users and stuff. What do you see any potential issues that you might run into using just like a MySQL database when you're trying to scale this thing to like?
No,
okay.
MySQL's fast and it's web scale and it'll work fine.
Okay, cool. Now imagine that your app like takes off, right? Imagine that like, dang, people really like this thing, and then like 2 years down the road, you've added all these features and all this stuff, right? And it's like it's actually humming along. Now you're up at like 150 or 200,000 daily active users, right?
Yep.
All right, and some of these users are like all over the world, right? Yeah. And you got to now you got to scale your database. How are you going to do that? Hey, what kind of services are you using to scale this MySQL database?
I'm gonna pay some people to either slowly migrate stuff, build new things in different databases,
or so you're gonna spend all your development time on your database and not on your actual features on your app. See,
well, by then it would be generating revenue or have some sort of funding because there'd be actual users.
So that's a good reason why we should then spend them. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
So what if I told you? What if I told you instead that if you had instead just like done some time and research and thought really hard about what your app might become, and you built it to scale?
So that way I can be burning $7,000 a month on AWS for 14 daily active users.
Why do you think it's $7,000 a month?
Dude, AWS costs spiral out of control, man. Everyone's gotten a surprise bill before. Everyone.
Okay. If you don't know how to manage your compute time and your queries, yeah. But if you're a good developer and you know how to manage that, absolutely not. It's super cheap. It's actually cheaper than other services if you write good code.
Weren't you just bashing on Lambda like the cheapest way to deploy like code on AWS?
What I was saying is that sometimes if you write bad code, you're gonna spin up a bunch of unnecessary Lambda functions. You're gonna go into fucking serverless hell.
Lambda's cheap as hell, dude. Lambda's cheap.
Well, that exactly. But the problem is if you're spinning up too many unnecessary services, then those costs will balloon, right?
Yeah. So an unnecessary service like DynamoDB or something when you could just use like a shitty $5 server.
That's what I'm trying to tell you though. Dynamo has native integrations with Lambda functions. So Lambda
so does every other database service.
No. This is called DynamoDB Streams, and this is something that's proprietary to Amazon if you use the AWS services, right? In that you can trigger Lambda functions to only trigger on certain DynamoDB queries and actions, which is like a huge benefit. This reduces your cost. Like if you understand how to use this thing, and again, like I wouldn't recommend it for every app. Like if you have an app where you need to have random access patterns, where you're like, oh, I need to look up. If you're doing data, for instance, like you need to find out like where people were on a certain date and whatever. You don't want to use Dynamo for that. But that SQL database way better for that. You do joins all day. But for what I'm building, it's my professional opinion as somebody who's, like I said, I'm not an idiot, my friend. Like I know some shit. All right, I don't know everything. I know some stuff though, and I think that Dynamo is a good application for what I'm trying to do. So that's all I'm trying to say. But
have you considered running MySQL on EC2? That might be a better performance.
I have, but I if you want, at some point we can talk about it. Like we can go off stream and you and I can explain to you like why I've made the decision I've made. I'd be happy to explain that to you.
No, I don't think that's necessary. I just think that this is just way over engineered. You're trying to pitch for investors, and you have a login page, and you've got all this thought about like what database you're going to use, but like you don't have any mocks about your app. You don't have like any. Like I understand you want to keep it private, and you don't want to like tell the entire world your app.
Listen, my friend, listen. I don't have to tell you, my friend. I wasn't making an offer to you or whatever. I made it only to Steve because I respect him. You can doubt me all you want. That's fine. I don't care. Listen, when it's launched and ready, I'll shoot you the link, and you can tell me what you think of it.
I don't think that'll be necessary.
Okay. Well, in that case, I wish you well, my friend.
Steven, any thoughts? Steven, what's your thoughts on databases? What do you think is like if you had to rewrite DGG, what would you use? What's your database of choice?
I think what I would do is I would probably Google. I would restrict my searches. I'd probably search for. I Google newest cutting edge database, and then I would restrict my searches to 2023 and later. I want the latest framework with the most bells and whistles, and then I would hire anybody with years of experience in that framework, and then I would fire you, and I would have the best database ever. We would have the most efficient stack. How efficient is our stack, KoK?
That's pretty fast.
Have you even looked at the stack lately?
Yeah.
Doubt it.
I'm looking at it right now.
Doubt it. It needs to. The whole thing needs a
We got to rewrite it.
We got to rewrite the whole.
We got to rewrite it for the third time, Steven.
I think so. Yeah.
Honestly, though, I will tell you right now is kind of a good time to start looking at that stuff because HTMX is becoming very good. Like HTMX is very usable now. Or for something like Steve's project, you could probably do like just use Astro. Astro would be like actually probably a really good.
Yeah, where's Jader? We got to get him doing some HTMX. Where's Jader at? Let me find him.
But again, and also another thing, Steve, this is another thing I can offer to you. If you ever need any kind of consulting on any technology things, I will offer that to you as well.
Okay.
That I can.
Wait, where is KoK at? Astro 4.2 is out. The web framework for content-driven websites. Astro powers the world's fastest websites.
Content-driven websites.
Yeah, and it's client-side web apps, dynamic API endpoints, and everything. We have APIs. We use those. Don't we have APIs?
Yeah, we have APIs. We use APIs. We consume APIs, and we produce APIs.
Okay,
Dude,
maybe this would solve your problems with Google and the chat because this has APIs in it, right?
God, it
Astro also has, it does, and Astro also has built-in image like conversion to WebP, which is really cool. So you rank higher on Google because it'll automatically downscale like your 600 kilobyte images.
Okay, I told you to hire an SEO guy. Have you hired anybody for optimization yet?
Astro does automatic SEO, by the way. Another good reason to use Astro.
Dude, automatic SEO. Jader doesn't even know what SEO is. Oh my god.
It's because he's young. He's 20. They didn't have SEO when he was growing up. Yeah. He didn't come from our days.
He had the iPad with the YouTube videos.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
true.
So anyway, that is I will give you that as well, my friend. If you ever have any questions about anything technology related, I will offer you my time for whatever you want.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Anyway, that's it. If that's it, I don't want to take any more of your time, So, but I appreciate you.
All right. Well, good luck.
All right, dude. Have a good one. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Your jealousy shows like when you come in and you know that I have a new tech friend and you're just like
Dude, just hire him. There we go.
You're seething.
You broke my year streak of not coming on stream.
Oh fuck.
Where's Linus? Linus had some input.
Linus
Where'd
bitched out when he realized he was out of his depth. He didn't want to get humiliated like he did by that one.
I got rolled in
by that one
one.
16-year-old guy talking about fuck, what was it? It wasn't PHP. What were they talking about? Do you remember this?
Oh, the red guy. The CPU registers or whatever.
Yeah, the CPU, the RAM addresses. The Java, it was Java. Oh my god.
It was the size of
I've never seen somebody with such poor understanding of how Java addresses memory in my entire life than Linus in that conversation. Holy fuck.
True.
Unbelievable.
It's okay. I've been reading the Minecraft source code and I've learned a thing or two.
Well, what's up?
Yeah, Linus, what's up?
Okay.
I don't know. He's gone.
Well, why didn't you come in earlier?
Kate came in. He was doing a great job.
What are you doing? What happened to you? Are you on drugs?
No, I'm just I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Well, how's life going? You working on any fun projects right now?
You know, same old, same old.
Dude, Linus, what is going on?
Is he gooning right now?
Dude, he's got to be gooning.
All right, guys. Well, good chat.
Great chat.
Great chat.
Good job,
hey,
guys.
guys. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So, are we hiring that guy weekly or monthly?
Well, we're gonna bring him on as a consultant, and then
he can convert everything to DynamoDB.
Yeah, we're just gonna put everything in DynamoDB. Everything's gonna be Lambda.
And then
you gotta use streams.
Make sure you're using Astro as well.
Streams are great.
Right.
Astro.
As long as Astro is involved somehow. Because
HTMX, there's going to be HTMX, and the emotes are going to be HTMX now. So now Jader can only mine. Oh, you know what? If we tell Jader to use WebP, that'll give him more CPU to mine Bitcoin on people's computers.
Hey, so we can just say it's unoptimized, and these fucking losers won't even realize we're mining Ice Poseidon coin on my wallet.
Wait, I don't even know if that's a real thing or not. Is it?
I think he scammed it at one point in time. Have you done? I keep asking for mock-ups for how many viewers do we need to break even on like a $10 million crypto scam, and you haven't gotten back to me on that yet. I feel like we could push an update to these fucking retards and get them to like mine shit on their computer for at least like 3 days before they realize what's going on.
Dude, you just got to make it like the manifold thing, but they have to install it on their computer. Bam, we got to find that thousands of people.
Absolutely, we will do. I'll make sure that August sticks it in the mid rolls for YouTube as well. We'll get those guys. YouTube users are notoriously unsophisticated, and I'll push to my TikTok. I bet the conversion there will be unbelievably high.
You got to have real good conversion numbers on TikTok. There, you got to get them off their phones. You got to get them onto their computers. We need those.
Wait, you can't mine? You can't mine from your phone yet?
Well, you know, maybe. I'll send that to you in the email. I can't talk about that on stream.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's our new proprietary database called.
Can I just say, like, if you guys are trying to mine on the phones, have you guys considered a little framework called React? Because that does phone stuff. So let me just throw it out there in case you're trying to.
Wait, what's your favorite part of React? The React frameworks?
Yeah, specifically the mobile version.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like the developer tool set that it comes with. And I think the toolkit support is also really nice, and it's easily extensible. Like you can, modular development. I think it's really good. Yeah.
That's very forward thinking.
Thank
you. Have you ever considered doing more project management stuff for your website?
I thought of, but the last guys that I worked with used Node, and when I suggested React, they fired me. So I'm in between jobs right now. Yeah.
That's rough. It's a rough market out there. Lots of layoffs.
Yep, I got hired during COVID. I was one of those guys, and
if they'd used DynamoDB, these companies would not be doing layoffs right now. They are, frankly, wasting resources.
Absolutely
true. I mean, Linus, we already know that running databases on EC2 is the best way to do it.
Absolutely, and you can run as many DynamoDBs on as many EC2 instances as you can shake your fist at.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Wow.
Remember when Dan was here for these kind of talks? I didn't have to come in here. Linus didn't have to come in here.
I bet Dan would have taken equity in this guy's company.
Oh,
Dan would have taken like 40% and done nothing and just waited on it. Yeah.
Ace. Well, I'll let you get back to your Yemen research.
Yeah, we were finishing today. Absolutely.
Good luck, Yemen scholar.
Thank you. Have fun. Be careful.
Good luck.
I'll see you later, dude.
I'm a CS major. Can you ask these guys for a good resource to learn all of this, please? Cake. I don't even know what meme answer to give. Everything I know about programming comes from the subreddit Programmer Humor. I just know how to make fun of people. I don't know anything else, so. Jesus. Okay. Let me grab a Red Bull, and we'll keep going. We're gonna finish Yemen. Jesus. Okay, one sec. All right. Whew. Is she drowning? What? Wait, stop. Stop. Okay. Christ. Ratbone is a pro-Houthi TikToker. Rathbone? This guy? Houthis are not to be played with lady stitches. This guy just loves linking YouTube videos. All right. It's this guy.
Actually, Hamas started this whole thing. Remember October 7th? Actually, that's wrong. Before October 7th, Israeli security forces killed 248 Palestinians, and 40 of them were children, and that was just this year. And if you want to go back further than that, we can look at the recent history of war crimes committed by the Israeli government. Operation Protective Edge in 2014, Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012, Operation Cast Lead in 2009. Yeah, but you don't mention why Cast Lead happened. Hamas fired rockets into Israel. And that was because Israel broke the ceasefire agreement they had on November 4th, 2008, while the entire world was in euphoria over the United States electing its first black president, Barack Obama. Israel used the opportunity to break the ceasefire agreement and raid Gaza and kill Palestinians. By the Israeli foreign minister's own words at the time, this strategy of breaking the ceasefire was to preempt Hamas into an attack which they could use as a pretext for a much larger invasion. The fact that you don't see that is kind of baffling to me. Well, you're leaving out a lot of context. You gotta go back further than that, to 1967? Yeah, let's go back to 1967, when Israel started a preemptive war against Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, and took more land from Palestine, further enclosing Palestinians into the Gaza Strip. They illegally occupied the Gaza Strip and the West Bank in what has been formally condemned ever since 1967 as an illegal occupation in violation of international law, unilaterally condemned by the World Court, the UN, the Red Cross, the Geneva Conventions, worldwide consensus. The majority of countries in the world all call on Israel to return to its pre-June 1967 borders. Yeah, but you're missing more context. You gotta go back to 1948. Okay, let's go back to 1948. In 1948, Zionists extirpated about 1 million Palestinians from their homes and forced them to relocate to the Gaza Strip. Today, about 70% of all Gazans are considered refugees from the 1948 expulsion. This predictably sparked a war. Yes, when you have colonial powers coming into a territory that does not belong to them and forcibly removing people from their land, it tends to get violent. Yeah, but you're missing context. What about before Christ? Invoking the Bible as an excuse to ethnically cleanse a population from its territory is a baby-brained middle school argument. Biblical rights have absolutely no status in the world today. No one can say that 2,000 years ago, this is my story of what happened, therefore I get to take this land from these people.
Holy shit. I'm pro-Palestine now. He got me. All right, here we go. Wait. Fuck. This is going to be really boring for you guys. I'm so sorry. I'll 1.5 this. I just want to listen to the end of this. An actual, like, scholarly debate on this topic. Okay. What was wrong about any of what he said? He wasn't technically wrong about anything, but there's just always more. Like, you can always tell a particular story if you want. That's the only problem with, like, the conflict, right? Like, if you were to tell it from the Israeli side, like, the ultra pro-Zionist side is from the history of the entire world, Jewish people were persecuted all over the world. Pogroms were erupting all over the world, especially in eastern Russia. And in 1880, some of them started to move down to areas in Palestine. They bought the land. They made a deal with the British government. The British government promised them that they could have a little place to stay. They moved down there. They bought land. They didn't kick anybody off of anything illegally. They bought the stuff. They moved them off. They did what they had to legally with the British government. And then eventually they said, hey, here's something. We'll share it with the Arabs. And the Arabs said no. And then the Arabs, kicked them all out. Or the Arabs tried to kick them all out, and then they failed. And Israel defended itself, even though all the people around them tried to kill them over and over and over again. They did it in 48. They did it in 67. They did it in 73. And then finally, Israel fought, and they have their place in the world now as the only Jewish state. Or you could tell from the Palestinian side, and you could say that under the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years, this land has been settled by certain groups of people. And, the Brits made deals with us that we could have our own Arab nation after the Ottoman Empire collapsed and these nasty Turks weren't ruling over us anymore. And out of nowhere, these white loser fucking European colonialists showed up in our fucking land. They started expanding over and over again. They started to push us out, and then they expected us to share all this territory with them. And we decided not to, and we tried to fight against them. But because they had official base military training from their wars in Europe, they were able to fuck us over and over and over and over and over again. And now we've been relegated to this small territory that they simultaneously say they occupy but won't give us any rights on, and now we're fucked forever. I mean, depending on, I don't know, you're gonna like, or you say white people are being mean to brown people, or colonial people are being mean to native people, or white people are being mean to brown people, or Jewish people are being mean to Muslim people, whatever the fuck you want to say. Like you can tell whatever story you fucking want. Who cares? We're talking about insurrection of the 14th Amendment. Good luck.
Let's say I'm not, but let's say I'm a former DA, left going into private practice, and now I was asked to defend one of the insurrectionists from January 6th, and I give him a little break on the fee because that person is poor. Have I given aid or comfort to the enemies of the Constitution?
I think the answer to both questions is no. I do think what we call lawyers often.
How do you determine the validity of the story? Everything I just said was true on both sides. Both sides of that were true. It's just depending on which facts you account for and which ones you don't, it's like you just make it sound way more one-sided actually. Hey, Destiny, just want to say your recent video, just saw your recent video a bit. I wanted to know if Jan 6 was a coup. What about Chaz in Washington? I have no mercy. I don't know, maybe. I don't know enough about Chaz or how it ran. But also that's a state issue, not a federal one, so I'm not sure. I don't know about Chaz. Maybe, could be.
Constitution.
I think the answer to both questions is no. I do think what we call lawyers officers of the court, and that's a little bit self-serving. I don't think we're the real officers of the court are.
I don't say it. They tell me that.
It's very nice of them. We haven't argued here about whether technically aid or comfort extends to all people who commit insurrection or rebellion, whether that's the definition of enemies, or whether enemies itself has a narrower compass. I think either way, doing something like providing constitutionally required legal representation would not qualify as aid or comfort. And I actually agree with Michael that we should be careful not to read aid or comfort too broadly. I think we should read it the way it was when it was enacted.
I do not believe performing your legal function is engaging in an insurrection. And aid and comfort does not apply unless you're aiding in enemies of the United States, who are people who are making war against the United States. Now, if we're talking about a Guantanamo situation, well, we might have more of a problem.
Next. I was curious as to the textual interpretation of the word hold and Professor McConnell's interpretation of that, whether that textual interpretation supersedes the nature of a quo warranto action as a civil action and the...
Wow, Catholics, thanks for the 11 of your host, buddy.
Current provision, so to speak, in Article 3 of pre-enforcement actions. So if the injury, for lack of a better term, is that person hold the second...
I think this guy here is Bod. This is one of the authors of that paper. So I'm just listening to him. He had a debate with this guy, but I listened to most of this earlier today.
Holds office. Why wouldn't Article 3 pre-enforcement principles apply to a quo warranto action?
I take a version of the argument as it's true. The Constitution says you can't hold office. That's its only bar. But it doesn't tell us when we can adjudicate the holding question in advance. The Constitution says you can't be killed without due process. But it doesn't mean you have to wait until you're dead before you sue and try to get a writ quo resurrectio to come back to life. Right? We can say, this is about to happen. It would be unconstitutional if it were to happen, and we want to stop it. And that's, I think, the right way to do it, rather than to try to misread the word hold. I will say, I think the quo warranto provision is no longer in the U.S. Code. I think it disappeared in 1948 in the positive law codification. So I don't think it's there anymore.
Actually, I've spent some time trying to figure this. I don't know the answer to that. I can't find the repeal. You say in your article that it was repealed. I can't find it.
So in 1948, Congress took the entire judicial code and repassed it, and then said anything that we left out is hereby excluded by implication. So I believe that was where they repealed it.
And the Library of Congress issued a list of provisions that it said are permanent provisions and still exist even though they weren't recodified. I don't know what the legal standing is of that. And it is right there in U.S. Code. Look it up.
Oh.
Next question.
Hi, Dan McLaughlin from National Review. I would say that I've written at length on this issue, but not at law professor length. My question for Professor Bod, though, I mean, it seems to me that if you do look at those cases from the 1860s where Congress and the Supreme Court of North Carolina, did or didn't exclude people from office, there is a pretty clear standard there that it's pre-insurrection incitement is not enough, that there has to be sort of something active. And I guess my concern, having listened to you today and having read your article, is that it seems to me that your arguments for saying that Trump engaged in insurrection are interesting, they're creative, but I don't see the originalist basis for any of them in anything that happened or was considered at the time, including Lincoln describing secession itself as essentially a form of insurrection. It seems to me that if inaction in that phase, maybe James Buchanan should also have been ineligible to ever serve again. But that seems to me a big leap, and I'm just wondering what originalist basis there is really for any of this extension of the written principles of the amendment.
So in my view, the best evidence comes in Hines precedents, which is where they summarize the exclusion debates, both of after Section 3 is passed, the folks that Professor McConnell just mentioned, but also a series of debates whether to exclude people under the ironclad oath, which they see as largely paralleling Section 3. And that includes some cases of exclusion for speech. Now, it's true it's speech while the war is ongoing, so it's distinguishable, but I'm not sure that it's entirely distinguishable. It includes exclusions of somebody named Philip Thomas, who's excluded largely for his inactions, for his failure to stop his son from listening to the Confederacy, and for his decision to resign his position in Buchanan's cabinet. I think those are the best evidence we have. I admit there are gaps between that and the questions we face today. In an ideal world, we'd also be able to get more evidence. So it could well be that there's some more benign explanation for President Trump's behavior than the explanations we've so far gotten in the public record. It could well be that he could testify in a proceeding and explain why he did the things he did. It could well be, his testimony would lead us to something else. And I'd be happy to hear more about that.
So the problem with that is that the ironclad oath went beyond the terms of Section 3, and so it disqualified people. For example, anyone who held office in the Confederacy would flunk at any time the ironclad oath, and that is plainly inconsistent with the way Section 3.
Is it plainly inconsistent? Holding office isn't giving aid or comfort to an enemy if you're holding office in a rebellious country, or not rebellious country, it'd be a place in rebellion.
Was interpreted. So I think to say, as Will just did, that they equated the two, Section 3 and the ironclad oath, is just not, I just think that is a leap that we can't make. The two are quite different. And by the way, it's true.
Let him respond to it.
No, there could be new evidence about January 6th, but it could go the other way too. Maybe more benign explanations. I doubt it. But more malign explanations, we could find out that Donald Trump really did call the Proud Boys and tell them to bring arms and do other things. I mean, he might have. And it is true also that a number of the January 6th defendants, as a defense to the action, claimed that they believed that they were there in obedience to a call from the commander-in-chief. So they may not have, Trump may not have actually issued such a call, but they may have heard it.
So thank you. Next question.
I have a question, but I want to defer. There's folks at a mic in the back of the room as well.
Hi. I wanted to ask, do we have any concern about allowing anybody, state officials, in a conclusory fashion to determine facts as to very serious crimes? So whichever way the legal definition of insurrection or rebellion goes, it's quite a different determination to make, such as somebody's residence, their age, and even those things, I think, if, for example, somebody was disputing their place of residence, they would be able to go and say, well, actually, I did live here for the right number of years, and I am a citizen, and I should be able to be on the ballot and qualify. So is there a specific issue in this being a different kind of qualification because it surrounds a very serious crime, without any legal process having occurred necessarily, to just have one official say, well, we think what you did is an insurrection, you were never charged, you were never convicted, and so we're keeping you off?
Professor Bode.
I mean, let's just say there's tons of legal process, right? The courts are full of legal process with Section 3 now, where they're hearing and adjudicating these claims. There's a multi-day trial in Colorado. I take the point that figuring out whether somebody engaged in insurrection feels more weighty than figuring out whether they're lying about living in Maryland. But both of them are constitutional qualifications, so there's got to be some place to figure it out. And if the states want to take on that role, I think that's a legitimate thing to do.
I think it's a serious problem, and if it's in court, there can be a taking of evidence and so forth. But what if the state secretary of state simply throws the person off the ballot without any due process at all, or maybe with some sort of executive fact-finding? Will, in his paper, says that when there's judicial review of such a decision, that the court should defer to the secretary of state if it's within the range of reasonableness. So I think we are actually facing the very problem you described. Note that when Lyman Trumbull and the Congress passed enforcement legislation, they had the district attorneys go to court and prove the quo warranto proceeding, which will entail all the due process that you would expect and want.
Thank you. Next question.
My name is Trevor Zell. Thank you both for your comments. My question's for Professor Bode. If President Trump can be deemed to have engaged in insurrection by omission, failing to take steps to address what happened at the Capitol, can President Biden be deemed to have engaged in insurrection for failing to address what's happening on the southern border? Just a concerted group of people acting in open defiance of law, often armed and acting violently.
I don't think
what's the
so.
question?
And can be deemed to have engaged in
all the due process.
Oh,
that
I
you
understand
would
what you just said.
expect
Sorry,
and want.
fucking retarded. I got it.
Thank you. Next question.
My name is Trevor Rizal. Thank you both for your comments.
No.
My question's for Professor Bode. If President Trump can be deemed to have engaged in insurrection by omission, failing to take steps to address what happened at the Capitol, can President Biden be deemed to have engaged in insurrection for failing to address what's happening on the southern border? Just a concerted group of people acting in open defiance of law, often armed and acting violently.
I don't think so, but I don't think what's happening on the southern border rises to the level of an insurrection, and I don't think that the best reading of the facts is that President Biden is engaging in that insurrection. I will say I've received a lot of emails with variations of that question. Some suggesting that President Biden is in fact complicit in smuggling Chinese soldiers through the border as part of an attempt at an inside job to wage Chinese war against the United States. I think if that is true, that would be very serious and should not be President.
I think those folks are sneaking across the border illegally to take advantage of the liberty and prosperity of this great republic rather than committing insurrection to try to tear it down.
Next question.
Jeff Bishop, I have a couple of questions, mostly to some points that Professor McConnell had raised. One about the enforcement clause and one about the distinction of holding office versus running for it. As you know, the 14th Amendment is one of 6 or 7, depending on whether you count repealed ones, amendments that have language that say Congress may enforce this through appropriate legislation or something to that effect. Is there any precedent, though, for saying that any other part of the Constitution, including other sections of the 14th, don't have effect because Congress didn't act on this particular thing? For example, like Obergefell, they ruled that straight
that's a really good question.
marriage violated equal protection. Could they have, or should they have ruled, oh, well, maybe it does or maybe it doesn't, but Congress hasn't acted to enforce this, and so we're not going to hear the case at all?
Oh, that's a really good comparison, too.
I think the general rule, at least until very modern times, was that things in the Constitution could be invoked as a defense, but they did not constitute a cause of action in which you can go to court and sue. And that is true of the rest of the 14th Amendment. Don't forget that the 14th Amendment is, in fact, enforced, for the most part, against states, state officers, under Section 1983. So you don't just go into court and say, Obergefell, for example, was a 1983 case, so it was not one brought without any congressional authority. The tricky thing is...
Explain the question? It was a boring question. I'm just kidding. It wasn't good. We're almost done. Sorry.
As the Supreme Court has held that the 14th Amendment also applies to the federal government, which they never expected, and it doesn't. But the Supreme Court can say whatever they want. They then had to make up an enforcement scheme through the Bivens Doctrine, and I mean I assume everybody in civil procedure debates the illogic of that.
Professor Bode, anything to add?
I'll just add that in these cases, people are using state law causes of action, so nobody's claiming an implied federal cause of action of the 14th Amendment. And I think there's no dispute that the state can give you a cause of action to comply with the 14th Amendment.
Well, except the people who are suing to try to compel the state secretaries of state to kick Trump off the ballot, they need a cause of action.
But they're using state law causes of action.
Final question.
Shut down.
Yeah, it's Craig Richardson from Colorado. Most of the qualifications for office in the Constitution are fairly objective. Age, citizenship, this requires some subjective judgment. And we do have a mechanism for those subjective determinations, the impeachment clause. How does this provision, how is it properly harmonized textually and mechanically with that provision of the Constitution?
There was an impeachment proceeding involving the insurrection on January 6th that members of the Senate concluded was jurisdictionally barred because the president had left office. That seems wrong, I think, to both of us.
Fuck, I want more quotes about that. That is unreal if that is the case.
That members of the Senate concluded was jurisdictionally barred because the president had left office. That seems wrong, I think, to both of us. I think both of us have written about that. And had they decided otherwise and chosen that as the time to adjudicate this, that seems like that would have been a very healthy thing to do for the country. It's a shame it didn't happen.
Professor McConnell, final word?
So I didn't quite catch all of that, but so here's the way I think it basically works.
He was gooning.
State officers are governed by state law. Congress and Senate are governed by Article 1, which is why, by the way, Lyman Trumbull's bill excludes them from quo warranto proceedings. Each house is the judge of the qualifications of its own members. So House and Senate are governed by that. Appointed officials, including judges, it's enforced through the advice and consent proceedings of the Senate, and only the president are we bereft of any possible enforcement. And it's a serious problem because at the primary level, no matter what the states say, the Republican Party convention can nominate whoever they want for president. I mean, they're not governed by that. And then electors are running. How are we going to say that people running as electors are to be excluded? They're not insurrectionists. So I don't see how that's going to work. I think the only way it really is going to work is that Kamala Harris will be standing there with electoral votes coming in, and she's going to have a legal opinion from the 2024 version of John Eastman telling her that she's entitled not to recognize electoral votes in favor of Donald Trump. And we've seen this movie before.
All right, thank you all. Thank you both for excellent and substantive comments.
Wow, clapping.
Thank you.
Oh. In their own words, the 43 Republicans explain the 43 Republicans' explanations of their votes not to convict Trump in impeachment trial. Let's see. Jurisdiction-based objections and critical of Trump. Jurisdiction-based objection. Senators relied entirely on the rationale that the Senate does not have the constitutional jurisdiction for a former president. However, those 8 senators criticized Trump's actions as alleged by the House impeachment managers. Some of these criticisms are mild, others are scathing. Of the 43 Republican senators, these are the 43 that voted not to convict. So, how many did you need for a conviction in the Senate? Is it 66? Or 67? How many Senate votes needed for impeachment, conviction, Senate? It's 2/3. So it's, does that round up? Is it 67 then? Okay. Interesting. Fourteen senators voted to acquit, relying on the rationale that the Senate does not have the constitutional jurisdiction to impeach a former president. Wait, I don't understand. Jurisdiction-based objections and critical of Trump. Oh, I see. So 8 here. And then and then 14 here. Damn. Okay. All right. We're finishing this right now. Children and women. According to UN estimates, the war has directly caused the death of over 3,000 children as of December 2020, while indirect causes of the war, lack of food, health, and infrastructure, have led to additional deaths. The UN estimates that at the end of 2021, 70% of all the casualties of the war, around 259,000, are children under 5. Real children, not just people under 18. Damn. Yemeni refugee women and children are extremely susceptible to smuggling and human trafficking. NGOs report that vulnerable populations in Yemen were at increased risk for human trafficking in 2015 because of ongoing armed conflict, civil unrest, and lawlessness. Migrant workers from Somalia, is that people refer to it sometimes? Who remained in Yemen during this period suffered from increased violence, and women and children became most vulnerable to human trafficking. Prostitution on women and child sex slaves is a social issue in Yemen. Citizens of other Gulf states are beginning to be drawn into the sex tourism industry. The poorest people in Yemen work locally, and children are commonly sold as sex slaves abroad. While this issue is worsening, the plight of Somalis in Yemen has been ignored by the government. Emphasizing the dire humanitarian needs for about 23.4 million people, UNFPA reported the lack of access to sexual and reproductive health and protection services, and exposure to death in pregnancy and childbirth, and life-threatening violence. An increase in child marriage as a coping mechanism by impoverished families as the conflict continues was also reported. Children are recruited between the ages of 13 and 17 and as young as 10 years old into armed forces, despite a law against it in 1991. The rate of militant recruitment in Yemen increases exponentially. According to an international organization, between 26th of March and the 24th of April in 2015, armed groups recruited at least 140 children. According to the New York Times report, 1.8 million children in Yemen are extremely subject to malnutrition in 2018. Both the Saudi-led coalition and the Houthis were blacklisted by the UN over the deaths of children during the war. In 2016, Saudi Arabia was removed from the list after alleged pressure from Gulf countries who threatened to withdraw hundreds of millions of dollars in assistance to the UN. The decision was criticized by human rights groups, and the coalition added again in 2017 and was accused of killing or injuring 683 children and attacking many of schools and hospitals in 38 confirmed attacks, while the Houthis were accused of being responsible for 414 child casualties in 2016. On June 16th of 2020, the United Nations removed the Saudi-led coalition fighting in Yemen war from an annual blacklist of parties violating children's rights. The decision was taken despite the UN finding that the coalition operations killed or injured nearly 222 children in Yemen in 2019. I have hiccups. The Saudi-led coalition's removal from the blacklist leaves Yemeni children vulnerable to future attacks. In mid-May of 2019, a series of Saudi Emirati-led airstrikes hit Houthi targets on the outskirts of Sana'a. One of the airstrikes destroyed several homes, killing 5 civilians and injuring more than 30. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, while 4,800 of about 7,000 civilian fatalities have been caused by the Saudi-led coalition since 2016, the Houthis are accountable for 1,300 civilian deaths. According to UNICEF, 2 million children have dropped out of school in Yemen since the conflict began in March of 2015. The education of other 3.7 million children is uncertain as the teachers have not yet received salaries in the last 2 years. On October 9th, the children's advocacy group Save the Children warned of a significant rise in cholera cases in northern Yemen. The crisis caused by increases in fuel shortages has affected several thousand children and their families. Health. The Yemen Civil War, or the Yemeni Civil War, is often been referred to as the world's forgotten war. In 2018, the United Nations warned that 13 million Yemeni civilians face starvation in what it says could become the worst famine in the world in 100 years. The UN estimates that the war caused an estimated 230,000 deaths in December of 2020, of which 130,000 were from indirect causes, which include lack of food, health services, and infrastructure. Earlier estimates from 2018 from Save the Children estimated that 85,000 children have died due to starvation in the 3 years prior. Between October of 2016 and August of 2019, over 2,036,960 suspected cholera cases were reported in Yemen, including 3,716 related deaths. The seasonal flu virus in Yemen has claimed more than 270 lives since October of 2019. Poor medical facilities and widespread poverty in Yemen due to the war waged by Saudi-led coalition and Houthis have led to the deaths of many infected patients in their homes. Between April and July of 2020, research showed that there was a peak in daily excess burial rates of approximately 1,500 due to COVID-19. The overall disease surveillance in Yemen was also affected by the armed conflict. The disease early warning system was fragmented, with the government without control of the system in Houthi-controlled areas and vice versa. The UN estimates by the end of 2021, the conflict in Yemen has claimed more than 377,000 lives. 70% of deaths were children under age 5. Oof. Damn. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, a little bit more. All right. The U.S. government estimates that religious minorities in Yemen constitute less than 1% of the population. They are categorized into 4 groups, including Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and Hindus. The Houthi movement has been said to be intolerant towards religious minorities. It was claimed that Houthis' attachment to their own practices has led to a discriminatory stance against other types of faiths present in territories that are under their control. The Baha'i international community stated that a number of Baha'i were imprisoned by the Houthis for religious reasons. I think I pronounced this wrong, suck my dick. The province of Al-Baida, ACAP, was responsible for the execution of 4 people on January 10th, 2019. The justification given related to their atheist beliefs. As of March 2020, the Jewish cemetery in Aden was destroyed. Okay. As of April 2020, the fate of at least 50 Jews, or the fate of the last 50 Jews in Yemen, was reported to be unknown. On July 13th, 2020, it was reported that the Houthi militia is capturing the last Jews of Yemen in the Karif Desert. On July 16th, 5 Jews were allowed to leave Yemen by the Houthis, leaving 33 in the country. In July of 2020, the Mona Relief reported on their website that as of the 19th of July 2020, the Jewish population in Yemen, there were only a handful of Jews in Sana'a. On March 29, 2021, the Iranian-backed Houthi government deported the last remaining Yemenite Jews, or Yemenite Jews, to Egypt, ending the continuous presence of a community that dated back to antiquity. Cute. Education. The civil war in Yemen severely impacted and degraded the country's education system. The number of children who are out of school increased to 1.8 million in 2015 to 2016 out of more than 5 million registered students. According to the 2013 statistics released by the Ministry of Education, more than 3,600 schools are directly affected, 68 schools are occupied by armed groups, 248 schools have severe structural damage, and 270 are used to house refugees. Jeez. The Yemen government has not been able to improve this situation due to limited authority and manpower. Some of the education system's problems include not enough financial resources to operate schools and salaries of the teachers, not enough materials to reconstruct damaged schools, the lack of machinery to print textbooks and provide school supplies. These are caused by the unstable government that cannot afford or cannot offer enough financial services, and many schools are either damaged or used for other purposes. Despite warfare and destruction of schools, the Education Ministry was able to send teams to oversee primary and secondary schools' final exam in order to give students 15 to 16 school year certificates. Currently, UNICEF is raising money to support students of fixed schools damaged by armed conflict. The Yemeni quality of life is affected by the civil war, and people have suffered enormous hardships. Although mines are banned by the government, Houthi forces placed anti-personnel mines in many parts of Yemen, including Aden. Thousands of civilians are injured when they accidentally step on mines. Many lose their legs and injure their eyes. It's estimated that more than 500,000 mines have been laid by Houthi forces during the conflict. The pro-Hadi Yemen army was able to move 300,000 Houthi mines and recently captured areas, including 40,000 mines in the outskirts of Marib province, according to official sources. Hold on. The Yemeni quality of life is affected by the civil war, and people have suffered enormous hardships. Although mines are banned by the government, Houthi forces placed anti-personnel mines in many parts of Yemen, including Aden. Thousands of civilians are injured when they accidentally step on mines. Many lose their legs and injure their eyes. It is estimated that more than 500,000 mines have been laid by Houthi forces during the conflict. We've read this. The pro-Hadi Yemen army is able to move 300,000. In addition, the nine-country coalition led by Saudi Arabia launched many airstrikes against Houthi forces. Between March 2015 to December 2018, more than 4,600 civilians have been killed, and much of the civilian infrastructure for goods and food production, storage, and distribution has been destroyed. Factories have ceased production, and thousands of people have lost their jobs. Due to decreased production, food, medicines, and other consumer staples have become scarce. The prices of these goods have gone up, and civilians can no longer afford them for sustenance. Djibouti, a small country in the Horn of Africa, across the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, I think it's what it's normally called, right, from Yemen, has received an influx of refugees since the start of the campaign. Refugees also fled from Yemen to Somalia, arriving by sea in Somaliland, and Puntland, starting on the 20th of March. On the 16th of April, 2015, 2,695 refugees of 48 nationalities were reported to have fled to Oman in the past 2 weeks. According to Azyam Hafiz, an Indonesian student who was studying in Yemen, Al-Qaeda of Yemen has rescued at least 89 Indonesian civilians who were trapped in the conflict. Later on, he arrived in Indonesia and he told a story to local media. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the UNHCR, reported in August of 2015 that a total of almost 100,000 people fled Yemen, especially to regional countries like Saudi Arabia and Djibouti. September of 2016, UNHCR estimated displacement of 2.4 million Yemenis within the country and 120,000 seeking asylum. 2018, 500 refugees fleeing the civil war in Yemen came to Jeju Island, causing unease among the residents of Jeju. What the fuck even is this place? Is this a country? Oh, South Korea's largest island. How the fuck did they get all the way over to South Korea? What the fuck? I've never heard of this place in my life. Oh, is it like... I don't even know. Okay. Jeju is Korea's Hawaii base. Okay. According to the International Organization for Migration, despite the dangerous situation, Nearly 150,000 migrants. Okay, sorry, where were we? Okay. According to the International Organization for Migration, despite the dangerous situation, nearly 150,000 immigrants from Ethiopia arrived in Yemen in 2018, most of whom were on their way to Saudi Arabia in search of employment. In October of 2019, Kuwait donated $12 million to the UNHCR to support its humanitarian programs in Yemen. Salvatore Lombardo, chief of staff at office of the UNHCR, said that the donation will be allocated to address the issue of Yemen's internally displaced persons. Let's see. The Royal Saudi Navy evacuated diplomats and United Nations staff from Aden to Jeddah on the 20th of March 2015 as the Houthis targeted the city. Pakistan dispatched 2 special PIA flights to evacuate from Aden some 500 stranded Pakistanis on the 20th of March 2015. Several UN staff members and Arab diplomats were also evacuated following the airstrikes. The Indian government responded by deploying ships and planes to Yemen to evacuate stranded Indians. India began evacuating its citizens from Aden on the 2nd of April by sea. An air evacuation of Indian nationals from Sana'a to Djibouti started on the 3rd of April after the Indian government obtained permission to land 2 Airbus A320s at the Houthi-controlled airport. The Indian Armed Forces carried out rescue missions codenamed Operation Rahat and evacuated more than 4,640 overseas Indians in Yemen, along with 964 nationals of 41 countries. The Sana'a air evacuation ended on the 9th of April 2015, while the Aden evacuation by sea ended on the 11th of April 2015. The U.S. did not undertake an evacuation of private U.S. citizens from the country, but some Americans, as well as Europeans, took part in an evacuation organized by the Indian government. A Chinese missile frigate docked in Aden on the 20th of March to evacuate Chinese nationals. The ship reportedly deployed soldiers ashore on the 2nd of April to guard the evacuation of civilians from the city. Hundreds of Chinese and other foreign nationals were safely evacuated aboard the frigate in the first operation of its kind carried out by the Chinese military. The Philippines announced that 240 Filipinos had been grouped in Sana'a, were evacuated across the Saudi border to Jizan before boarding flights to Riyadh and then to Manila. The Malaysian government deployed 2 Royal Malaysian Air Force C-130 aircraft to evacuate their citizens from the safe airports in Djibouti and Dubai. From Aden, they were recuperated first by sea, and there were many in Hadramaut Governorate. On the 15th of April, around 600 people were evacuated to Malaysia, also comprising citizens of other Southeast Asian countries such as, we don't need to know every fucking evacuation. Okay. Throughout April, Russian military forces evacuated more than 1,000 people of various nationality. Okay. United Nations response. Bro, how many people are in Yemen? I guess somebody said it's like the global PvP zone. The United Nations has been closely following the Yemen war since its beginning. It has looked for solutions to alleviate security concerns in Yemen and stop the Houthi conflict from escalating. The Peace and National Partnership Agreement in 2014 was its final attempt at quelling the dispute before it transformed into a war. The United Nations representative Baroness Amos, Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, said on April 2nd, 2015, that she was extremely concerned about the fate of civilians trapped in fierce fighting. After aid agencies reported 519 people killed and 1,700 injured in 2 weeks, the UN Children's Agency reported 62 children killed and 30 injured, and also children being recruited as soldiers. Russia called for humanitarian pauses in the coalition bombing campaign, bringing the idea before the United Nations Security Council in a 4th of April emergency meeting. However, Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the United Nations questioned whether humanitarian pauses would be the best way of delivering humanitarian assistance. Actually, fuck. Here you go. Fuck this. Fuck notes. On March 22nd, 2015, the UN declared its recognition of Hadi as the sole legitimate president and encouraged the peaceful resolution of the dispute. A few days later, Saudi Arabia intervened militarily with an airstrike. On April 14th, 2015, the United Nations Security Council adopted a resolution placing sanctions on Abdul Malik al-Houthi and Ahmed Ali Saleh, establishing an arms embargo on the Houthis. This is not the one guy, is it? Oh, he has another name. Of course he does. Ahmed Ali. Okay. I don't know why. When do we use Abdullah and when do we not? Whatever. Establishing an arms embargo on the Houthis and calling on the Houthis to withdraw from Sana'a and other areas they seized. The Houthis condemned the UN resolution and called for mass protests. Jamal Ben Omar, the UN envoy to Yemen, who brokered the deal that ended Ali Abdullah Saleh's presidency during the 2011-2012 revolution, resigned on the 15th of April. Mauritanian diplomat Ismail Aoul Sheikh Ahmed, formerly the head of the UN's Ebola response mission, was confirmed as the new UN envoy to Yemen on the 25th of April. The panel of experts on Yemen, mandated by the Security Council, UN, submitted a 329-page report to the latter's president on the 26th of January 2018, denouncing the UAE, the Yemeni government, and the Houthis for torturing civilians in the Yemeni conflict. In December of 2018, UN-sponsored talks between the Houthis and the Saudi-backed government were expected to start. UN also started using its jets to carry wounded Houthi fighters out of the Yemen capital Sana'a to Oman, paving the way for planned peace talks after nearly 4 years of civil war. According to United Nations, more than 3.6 million Yemenis have been displaced in the 5-year-old conflict. The World Food Program, which feeds more than 12 million Yemenis, needs more funding to continue the ongoing operations and ramp back up operations in the north. Without funding, 30 of 41 major aid programs in Yemen would close in the next few weeks. On the 27th of September 2020, the United Nations announced that the Iran-backed Houthi rebels and the Hadi government, supported by the Saudi-led military coalition, agreed to exchange about 1,000 detainees and prisoners related to the conflict as part of a release plan reached in early 2020. The deal stated the release of 681 rebels, along with the 400 Hadi government forces, which included 15 Saudis and 4 Sudanese. The deal was finalized after a week-long meeting held in Lyon, Switzerland, co-chaired by UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Martin Griffiths. The prisoner swap deal was done by the UN during the 2018 peace talks in Sweden, which produced the Stockholm Agreement. The latter consisted of 3 major documents. The first one suggested the formation of a committee. The second one called for the exchange of prisoners. The third aimed at creating the UN mission to support the Al-Hodeidah Agreement. Both parties agreed on several measures, including the ceasefire, the strategic port city of Hodeidah. A prisoner swap deal was made as part of the 2018 peace talks held in Sweden. However, the implementation of the plan clashed with military offenses from Houthis and the Saudi-led coalition, which aggravated the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, leaving millions suffering medical and food supply shortages. On October 7, 2022, the UN Human Rights Council adopted without a vote a futile resolution on Yemen that failed to establish a credible, independent, and impartial monitoring and accountability mechanism. The adoption came a year after the same body rejected the renewal of the mandate for the group of eminent experts, an international, impartial, and independent body established by the Human Rights Council in 2017 that reported on rights violations and abuses in Yemen. Okay, peace process. We're almost done. Like 3 pages, guys. What the fuck is this? Neon's bodyguard gave him a reality check as he was about to buy a $4,000 jacket.
What that jacket said was, I shit money. That's it.
That's vibe. That's the vibe I want to.
Yeah, that's the vibe you want to put out there, right?
I shit money.
Okay, so shit it on me. Give me some money.
I don't shit money.
Oh. The fact is, bro, is you want that? I'm serious. It's a phone call to Vegas and you sending me your logo.
Yeah. But like the quality.
There's no difference in.
It's a phone call to Vegas and you're sending me your logo. Wait, what did that mean?
It's a phone call to Vegas and you sending me your logo.
Yeah.
Can somebody explain that saying, that turn of phrase?
Yeah. But like the quality.
There's no difference in quality. That jacket was made in China.
I'm about to hold on. That jacket was made in China? Nice, bro. I might as well just go to China then. It's cheaper over there. Oh, God, bro.
Yeah, the same jacket, cheaper, I guess. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Well, I need something. I need some.
You go to the LA garment district, bro, and literally, for that same $3,500, you can outfit everybody you know with Letterman jackets.
All right.
With that jacket.
Uh-oh. With Bernie tied up in knots over the word ceasefire, this was a moment AOC could have emerged as the undisputed leader of the left wing of the party. That's not the role she's playing here.
Oh, so some of your colleagues, and we talked about what's happened at the protests this week have called the president Genocide Joe. Some of your colleagues have accused the president of supporting genocide, including Rashida Tlaib. Do you agree with that word, genocide, that the president's been supporting a genocide, or does that go too far?
I think what we are seeing right now throughout the country is that young people are appalled at the violence and the indiscriminate loss of life. We are not just seeing 25,000 people that have died in Gaza. We are seeing the starvation of millions of people, the displacement of over 2 million Gazans. We have South Africa that has mounted a court in the ICJ. The ICJ ruled this week that Israel has a grave responsibility to prevent genocide.
But they're still determining whether it's a genocide. Do you think that
they are
term
still
is responsible,
determining
given
it?
that it's still under investigation?
I believe that they're still determining it, but in the interim ruling, the fact that they said there's a responsibility to prevent it, the fact that this word is even in play, the fact that this word is even in our discourse, I think demonstrates the mass inhumanity that Gazans.
God, what is that argument? Where's the comic for it? Where it's like, did you hear that yesterday Biden ate 17 baby heads? And you're like, bro, that was fake news. He didn't actually eat 17 baby heads. And then the person's like, okay, but like the fact that I even thought that was possible, like, doesn't that say something? No, it doesn't.
Are facing. And so whether you are an individual that believes this is a genocide, which by the way, in our polling, we are seeing large amounts of Americans concerned specifically with that word. So I don't think that it is something to completely toss someone out of our public discourse for using. But I think what we are seeing here is that the Netanyahu government has lost public support and that we have a responsibility to protect the human rights and the humanity of Gazans and hostages alike in the area.
Oh, you got her
She's
phone.
TMZ. She's TMZ. Why do you feel like it's okay? I'm a human being. All of this TMZ, this 30 miles on y'all set select, all this bullshit. I don't give a fuck what y'all got to do. What y'all gonna do? What y'all got to say? Don't come at me with that shit. Ask me that. You think you can walk up on me like that? What you think? Cause you a white woman, you can walk up on me like that? And ask me some dumb ass shit like that? Asking me about my wife, talking about this shit got free will? Are you crazy? You ain't saying this is America. You got free will, or you work for the devil?
Ooh.
You got free will, you working for TMZ Company? I'm a legend. You understand that? I'm here to support Charlie Wilson. You come and ask me some dumbass shit about my wife. That's my wife. You understand? You wasn't asking shit when I couldn't see my kids. When I couldn't, do you have questions? Do you have questions when I wasn't able to see my kids? And that I only get visitation and don't have rights to where they go to school? You got questions for that, or you part of the system? You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? What do you hear? What do you hear about that? Is that your job to go up to every celebrity, ask them some dumbass shit about their wife? No, tell me. Was it wrong for you to ask me about my wife some dumbass disrespectful shit like that? Was that wrong or right?
I'm sorry, Kanye. I just need my phone.
No. Answer the question. I'm supposed to answer your questions? Answer that question. I got your phone now. They gonna arrest me for taking your phone? Arrest me for taking your phone then.
I don't...
You answer the question. You asked me, did my wife have free will? Was that a dumbass, disrespectful question to come ask a grown-ass superhero? Answer the question. What's your name? What is your first and last name and address, miss? What are we doing?
I just need my phone.
Where is your phone? No, she came to me and said,
Uh-oh.
does your wife have free will to speak? She worked for TMZ.
Who does this actor look like? Or who does this cop look like? This is an actor. This is an actor cop. I know it. It's actually close to an actual actor this time. I'm not faceblind. There's an actor I'm trying to think of, and he looks just like him. I think he's got the facial and the glasses. It's not Walter White, motherfuckers. Who am I thinking of? Who am I think? Wait, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Just give me a second. Give me a second. Hold on. Okay, you know what? I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know, maybe not. Maybe not. Never mind. Maybe not. Maybe not, actually. I have a problem, guys. Show us? I don't know who the actor is, but he's one of the cops at the end of Rush Hour who's offering him a job.
Be playing.
This guy on the left. I think. But maybe not. Kind of. I think a little bit. I think a little bit. Not my worst, yeah.
Know each other. Yeah, how do you know me, miss? I don't know you. What is her name? What is this lady's name? I'm just a reporter. No, you're not just a reporter. What's your first and last name? Okay. Melanie what? What's your address? What you make a year? I'll pay you double what they paying you. Woo! Woo! Now you smiling. Woo! Get her contact. Yes, I will. I will. I will.
What? None of this was right. So Kanye didn't destroy her phone and he didn't offer her a job. What? This is... Okay, what a tweet. This was the comic. Anyway, I couldn't believe it when I saw that news. That's because the article you read was false, and here is the evidence that it's false. This is every conservative ever, by the way. Well, even so, the fact that I could believe it tells you something about the current state of affairs. Everything all right? Sorry, I meant to say, gee whiz, what an interesting way of thinking. Holy fuck. Can you link this? Yeah, sure. You should be linking this to every single person on the internet that ever uses this argument ever. The fact that I could even think that's real, though, doesn't that say something? And before, I've said that 20 times in the past 2 months. The Yemeni civil war, which began in 2014, has been one of the most heavy conflicts in history and caused a severe humanitarian crisis. In recent years, however, there have been several efforts to achieve a peaceful resolution and bring stability to the country. One of the most important developments is the peace process. In the peace process was the Stockholm Agreement, which was reached in December of 2018 between the conflicting parties, the government of Yemen and the Houthi rebels. This agreement focused on implementing a ceasefire in the city of Hodeidah and the area surrounding the city. The agreement also focused on the redeployment of forces and addressing humanitarian concerns. The agreement was seen as a significant step to alleviate the suffering of the Yemeni people and for further negotiations. Subsequently, there have been multiple rounds of talks and negotiations facilitated by the United Nations. These discussions have covered a comprehensive political solution, prisoner exchanges, and the establishment of a transitional government. The main goal has been to address the causes of the conflict, foster national reconciliation, and restore security and stability in Yemen. Another important development in the peace process was the Riyadh Agreement between the Yemeni government and the Southern Transitional Council in November of 2019. This agreement aimed to resolve power struggles in southern Yemen by establishing a power-sharing arrangement between the two parties. It was seen as a significant step towards achieving a unified Yemen and an important component of the broader peace process. Who the fuck cares between the Yemeni government and the... Who are these fucking losers again? The Southern Transitional Council. Okay, literally. Losers. Okay. Literally no one cares about these guys. Was seen as a significant step towards achieving a unified Yemen and an important component of the broader peace process. Wow, Misa VG, thanks for gifting 5 subs. Do you look into all the footnotes or only on the uncontested or only on the contested facts? It just depends on the depth we're going into for the article. Well, progress has been made. The road to peace in Yemen remains challenging due to ongoing clashes, political divisions, and regional rivalries. Additionally, the humanitarian situation in Yemen remains dire, with millions of people in urgent need of assistance. The Wall Street Journal reported in March of 2023 that Iran agreed to halt all military support to Houthis and abide by the UN arms embargo as part of a Chinese-brokered Iran-Saudi rapprochement deal. The agreement was concluded with the objective to put pressure on Houthi militants to end the conflict through negotiated settlement with Saudi and U.S. officials, describing the concomitant Iranian behavior as a litmus test for the endurance of the Chinese-brokered detente, I think. The agreement was concluded in the background of Iran's international isolation, following the escalation of its nuclear program, an ongoing crackdown on Mahsa Amini protests, and its support to Russian invasion of Ukraine. Détente? Whatever. What did I say? Détente? Détente? Détente. Okay. 3 more sections, guys. We're doing it. Other developments. Armed Houthis ransacked Al Jazeera's news bureau in Sana'a the 27th of March 2015 amid Qatar's participation in the military intervention against the group. The Qatar-based news channel condemned the attacks on its bureau. On the 28th of March, Ali Abdullah Saleh stated neither he nor anyone in his family would run for president, despite recent campaigning by his supporters for his son Ahmed to seek the presidency. He also called on Abdurrah Mansur al-Hadi to step down as president and said new elections should be held. Rumors about Saleh's whereabouts swirled during the conflict. Foreign Minister Riyad Yassin, a Hadi loyalist, claimed on the 4th of April that Saleh left Yemen aboard a Russian aircraft evacuating foreign nationals from Sana'a International Airport. Later in the month, Saleh reportedly asked the Saudi-led coalition for a safe exit for himself and his family, but the request was turned down. King Salman reshuffled the Saudi cabinet on the 20th of April, removing Prince Mukrin as his designated successor. The Saudi royal palace said Mukrin had asked to step down without giving a reason, but media speculation was that Mukrin did not demonstrate sufficient support for the Saudi-led military campaign in Yemen. A spokesman for Yemeni's exiled government told Reuters on the 29th of April that the country would officially seek membership in the Gulf Cooperation Council. Media reports have noted that the civil war has reached nearly all of Yemen, with one notable exception being the remote Indian Ocean archipelago of Socotra, where the war spread due to the South Yemen insurgency in 2017. On the 30th of September 2019, Houthi rebels released 219 Yemeni prisoners in a move stated by the UN as a revival of peace process, the International Committee of the Red Cross said. In September of 2020, the UN announced a swap of 1,081 conflict-related prisoners between the two opponents, including Saudi and Sudanese troops fighting for the Saudi-led coalition. In October 2020, 2 American hostages, Sandra Lowley and Mikhail Gidada, who had been captives for 16 months, were freed by the Houthi rebels in exchange for releasing 240 former Houthi combatants in Oman. In January of 2021, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced his intentions of declaring the Houthi movement in Yemen as a foreign terrorist organization. Under the plan, the 3 leaders of Houthis, known as Ansarullah, were to be listed as specially designated global terrorists. So Ansarullah is another name for the Houthis. That's not the name of the 3 leaders. I don't know what the fuck this... Dude, these articles on Yemen is so bad. Oh my god. Were to be listed as specially designated global terrorists. However, it induced a fear among the diplomats and aid groups that the move would cause issues in the peace talks and in delivering aid to the Yemen crisis. You must have heard somebody say Gulag Archipelago? Wait, is that what it's called? Although the UAE had announced in 2019 to vacate Yemen and withdraw all of its troops, the Arab nation continued to maintain its presence for strategic objectives. Reports in May of 2021 revealed that the Emiratis were building a mysterious airbase on Yemen's Mayun Island. What is a mysterious airbase? Where Metal Gear? In the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, satellite images revealed that the construction work to build a 6,000-foot runway along with 3 hangars on the island was completed on the 18th of May 2021. Military officials in the Yemeni government said that the UAE was transporting military equipment, weapons, and troops to Mayun Island through the ships. The island was considered a strategic location for anyone who controls it, offering power for operations into the Gulf of Aden, the Red Sea, and East Africa, and for easily launching airstrikes into Yemeni mainland. Archipelago. Bellagio? On October 7, 2021, Bahrain, along with Russia and other members of the UN Human Rights Council, opposed the Council's investigations into the war crimes in Yemen. The members narrowly voted the Netherlands resolution to give another 2 years to the independent investigators to continue the probe to monitor atrocities in the Yemen war. In the past, independent investigators concluded that potential war crimes have been committed by all sides. An ally of Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, is not a voting member of the Council, but rights activists of the kingdom heavily lobbied against the resolution. On the 20th of March 2022, the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross reported that the Yemeni government and the Houthis agreed to release 887 detainees following 10 days of negotiations in Switzerland. Both parties also agreed to visitation rights in detention facilities and likely more prisoner swaps in the future. Hans Grundberg, the UN Special Envoy for Yemen, said that things are finally moving in the right direction towards a resolution of the conflict. This came after the recent Saudi-Iranian rapprochement mediated by China a week earlier. This is it. Environmental impact. Yemen is facing one of the world's worst water, sanitation, and hygiene crises. The lack of governance has left Yemen without a viable water supply. Poor sanitation and the lack of clean water has had a deteriorating effect on the health of Yemenis, which is apparent through the increasing cases of cholera in Yemen since 2015. The entire country has been affected by a water shortage, and the price of drinking water has more than doubled. Drinking water has become unaffordable for most Yemenis. The problem in Yemen is widespread, thus making it difficult to prevent the problem from escalating because it is hard to supply everyone on a regular basis. The regional director for the Middle East and North Africa at UNICEF, Geert Capillari, sounds like a fucking Italian appetizer, has explained that the fuel shortages in Yemen have deepened the water and health crises. The water pumping stations in Yemen have been jeopardized as they are quickly running out of fuel, and over 3 million people are depending on these water pumps, which have been established through public networks. The ICRC has been working closely with vulnerable people where the resources are limited, but aim to prevent the water crisis from worsening by buying 750,000 liters of diesel to provide clean water for people living in Yemen. Already a scarce commodity, the amount of water withdrawn from wells in 2016 reached unsustainable levels. The ICRC has also been working carefully with local authorities to provide water to 330,000 people in Aden. They have also installed wells nearby Aden to provide water to the neighborhood where they are experiencing water shortages. Water resources have been used by both sides during the war as a tactic during the conflict. Unlike other countries in the Middle East, Yemen has no rivers to depend on for water resources. In 2017, 250,000 people of Taiz's total population of 754,330 were served by public water supply networks. As a result of the ongoing conflict, NGOs have struggled to reach the sanitation facilities due to security issues. Since the aerial bombardment, Taiz has been left in a critical situation as the current water production is not sufficient for the population. Water availability in Yemen has decreased. Water scarcity, with an intrinsic geographical formation in highlands and limited capital to build water infrastructures and provision services, caused a catastrophic water shortage in Yemen. Aquifer recharge rates are decreasing while salt water intrusion is increasing. After the civil war began in 2015, the water buckets were destroyed significantly. Water buckets? Is this supposed to refer to water tables? Like underground water tables? Or... I don't know. The water buckets were destroyed significantly and price of water highly increased. Storing water capacity has been demolished by war and supply chains have been occupied by military personnel, which makes the delivery of water far more difficult. In 2015, over 15 million people need healthcare and over 20 million need clean water and sanitation, an increase of 52% since the intervention. I think they mean aquifers. Isn't an aquifer a water table, or am I wrong? Water table versus aquifer. The upper surface of the water-filled area or zone of saturation is called the water table. The saturated area beneath the water table is called an aquifer. Oh, okay. Oh, maybe they actually do mean buckets that hold water. Like water tanks, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. But the government agencies cannot afford to deliver clean water to displaced Yemeni citizens. Agriculture. The Yemen civil war resulted in a severe lack of food and vegetation. Agricultural production in the country has suffered substantially, leaving Yemen to face the threat of famine. Yemen has been, since UNSC Resolution 2216 was approved in April 2015, under blockade by land, sea, and air, which has disrupted the delivery of many foreign resources to Houthi-controlled territory. In a country where 90% of the food requirements are met through imports, this blockade has had serious consequences concerning the availability of food to its citizens. It is reported that out of the population of 24 million in Yemen, every day 13 million are going hungry and 6 million are at risk of starvation. In October 2016, Robert Fisk reported that there is strong evidence suggesting that the agricultural sector in Houthi-controlled territory was being deliberately destroyed by the Saudi-led coalition, thus exacerbating the food shortage and leaving the Houthis dependent solely on imports, which are difficult to obtain in view of the blockade. Okay, we did it. Who enforces the, what is the blockade? Oh, fuck. Please don't be big. Please just be simple. Okay. Okay. Refers to a sea, land, and air blockade on Yemen, which started with the position of Saudi Arabian warships in Yemeni waters in 2015, with the Saudi Arabian-led intervention in Yemen in November 2017 after Houthi missile heading towards King Khalid International Airport was intercepted. The Saudi-led military coalition stated it would close all sea, land, and airports to Yemen, but shortly began reopening them after criticism from the UN, and over 20 aid groups and some humanitarian supplies were allowed into the country. In March of 2021, Saudi Arabia denied the blockade continued. However, UN-authorized ships continue to be delayed by Saudi warships. The blockade has contributed to the current famine in Yemen, which the UN said may become the deadliest famine in decades. Military intervention was launched by Saudi Arabia in 2015. Okay. The U.S. has supported the Arab coalition's intervention in the war, and the U.S. Navy actively participated in the naval blockade at the beginning of the intervention. In mid of 2015, Washington increased its logistical and intelligence support to Saudi Arabia by creating a joint coordination. However, in mid-2016 and amid escalating international concerns regarding some of the strategic initiatives undertaken by the Saudi Arabian military in the conflict, the U.S. pulled back significantly on its participation in this joint planning cell, reducing its staff commitment to only 5 U.S. workers. Saudi Arabia reportedly relied on U.S. intel reports, surveillance images for airstrike target selection, some of which were against weapons and aircraft. The U.S. dispatched warships in the region after Houthi missiles targeted the UAE-operated HSV-2 Swift. Why? Okay. The herpes boat, which some critics interpreted as the U.S. reinforcing the coalition blockade. According to Iranian sources, it was refueled. It has refueled Saudi planes, sent the Saudi military targeting intelligence, and resupplied them with tens of billions of dollars worth of bombs. Donald Trump asked Saudi Arabia to allow humanitarian aid to enter Yemen in 2017 and 2019. The U.S. Congress pushed to cease the sale of arms to Saudi Arabia and the UAE to address the famine in Yemen, but this was ultimately vetoed by the Trump administration on 3 occasions. The U.S. and the U.K. Support the effort through arms, sales, and technical assistance. Amnesty International urged the U.S. and the U.K. to stop supplying arms. Reported that the U.S. Is regarded, do they mean retarded, as an indirect partner for Saudi Arabia in the war and the blockade on Yemen. According to a 2021 article in the Washington Post, the end of the U.S. support for the Saudi-led blockade against Yemen could create hope for millions of Yemenis. The article states that Biden and Congress have taken no real action to end support for the coalition after declaring that he would end all American support for offensive operations in the war in Yemen, including relevant arms sales. I think we did, didn't we pull out, I think? Or don't we not support that anymore? I think we did, right? Biden, Yemen, Biden, Yemen. Fuck, no, it's gonna be all recent shit. Biden, Yemen, support Saudi Arabia. It's gonna be all news articles. What's the thing that you... Oh, in April 2nd of 2023. I thought I read earlier you can add before 2024 to your search. Before 2022? Support for a second. Okay, which one is it? Biden's broken promise on Yemen is September 16th, 2021. Biden ends military aid for Saudi war in Yemen. February 5th, 2021. Did they say they were going to end it, but they didn't completely read it, or they didn't completely end it, or the president stated that he would end U.S. support for offensive operations in Yemen. Yeah, the Saudi-led war on Yemen, by definition, is an offensive operation. Saudi Arabia bombing, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't call for an immediate end to the Saudi blockade of Yemen. Well, yeah, but do we, at the very least, are we not supporting them? We should probably call for an end to that as well. The U.S. tacitly cooperates with the blockade by not challenging it. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Why are we still friends with Saudi? Fuck them, decreasing oil production when Russia invaded Ukraine. Why are we still friends with Saudi? Well, I feel like to have a good answer for that, we would need to know history of Iran. And then we would need to do... I'll probably read some of this off stream because I think this is really boring stream stuff. But there's a whole thing on like the Iran-Saudi Arabian proxy conflict. But this probably has a bunch of information relating to that. Literally only because they're willing to be peaceful with the West and because they're against Iran. Hold on one second. Okay. I don't know if I want to... We'll worry about this later. Fuck it. My brain is done. Okay? We've done Yemen. Fuck Yemen. You guys are gonna hate... You guys are gonna hate me, okay? Because you know what we really probably should do? Is... to do stuff? No. Articles. What the fuck am I looking for? Oh. You know what I might have to do? You're gonna hate me on this one. Oh my god. You know what we might have to do? Lycan is about to cream himself. Bring in Lav for a quick debrief. Where's Lav? We might have to do the Gaza the Gaza Israeli wars. So that means like Protective Edge and Cast Lead and because I have a feeling that Finkelstein's probably written about them quite a bit. So and if I debate Finkelstein, I think we're probably gonna have to know shit about this. I might just do this all off stream though. I have to figure out how much off stream time I want to commit to this. However, if I do this, that means that we're basically never doing immigration, because immigration is basically relevant now, and then I don't know how relevant it's going to be, you know, a month or two from now. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a timeline for that debate? Oh shit. I have to talk to Lex about this. It would be nice to do comprehensive immigration homework though, to have like solid answers on like, does immigration does immigration like hurt the economy, or do illegal immigrants commit more crime, or like shit like that. It would be nice to like have the background though. Like, I think every topic we've researched so far has given us like more like general insight into the world, I think, right? Why off stream anything? I mean, people would watch anyway. It's quicker for me to read without speaking at the same time. Yeah, that's the main one. It's quicker for me to read without having to worry about stream and to just like sit and absorb information. My tripping, or didn't you do this research like 6 years ago for the original Nazi arc? I think my ability to I think my stimulants help. Okay, I think being medicated gives me the ability to sit down and read through a larger variety of information and to like absorb a whole bunch more than I could in the past. So I think my enhanced brain helps, and I think I've just gotten a little bit better also at like understanding different sources and being a little bit more rigorous with my a little more rigorous and a little more meticulous than I was in the past with reading information. So I think I can do better. I can do another pass. I know like general principles related to immigration. Like, I would be surprised if my broad feelings about immigration changed. We could even write these down before I start researching. I'd be surprised if they changed. Hopefully they're just fleshed out more, but it's possible they could. Yeah. Would you read Finkelstein's book to be able to dismantle his talking points? I don't know if I have time to go through all that shit. I'm not sure. Do you go over Iran? I'd like to at some point, yeah. But I also have to balance out like just reading with like making the stream not the most boring fucking thing in the world. Who do you think it's the Mossad writing these articles? They're so much better organized. I can tell just by looking at it, it's better organized than those fucking Yemen articles. Jesus Christ. Medication do I take again? I take Viagra. But really Vyvanse. Uh-oh. Got 2 posts. Read everything off stream when you're traveling? Yeah, maybe, we'll see. Israel-Palestine debate, your advice needed. Post from Lex. Destiny is happy with participating or not. He also told me that he prefers 2v2 because 1v1 with the norm might not be the style of conversation I'm looking for. The thing that I said, God, this would just be so fucking amazing. I would be a little bit out of place, admittedly, but if like me and Benny Morse could have a debate against like Norman Finkelstein and Ilan Pape or whatever, that would be fucking epic. The only worry is that I would be out of my depth in that conversation, but that would be because you'd have like pundit figure, pop historian or whatever, Finkelstein and Destiny, and then like the super hardcore historians, Morris and Pape. That would be a sick fucking setup. But I don't know if that other dude even does shit like that. Oh, and Norm won't 1v1 anyway. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Why don't you 1v2 on this subject? Because that would just be a lot. I would be pretty arrogant to come and think I could do that. I'm not even fully sure I would win 1-on-1 against Finkelstein. There might be other facts or things that aren't in his books or things that he knows that he just doesn't reference. It's hard to know. And I haven't really seen him in like a real debate that's like impressive because it just seems like it's always just people shouting dumb shit at each other. So it's hard to say. There's no way Lycan actually believes this. Civilian life greater than the life of my men. Uh-oh. Why not assemble your autist squad to read his books and highlight your weak areas? I haven't actually vetted people that I trust to read and research for me yet. That's just like a whole other thing. I just like to read everything myself. I don't know if I trust compilations or notes compiled from other people, basically. Jesus Christ. Oh no. What the fuck is this?
Wait, I'm sorry. You came in here, Beckett.
Oh, I was AFK for this. Oh no, only the chair heard this.
Came in here lauding your military status. So from one military person to another, do you have a right to shoot a clearly marked military?
Oh God, what was your MOS? You were probably fucking supply, weren't you?
I'm sorry. What were you?
11 Bravo.
Okay, I was 2621. Suck my dick.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, this.
So instead of doing the MOS, instead of doing the medical, or instead of doing the military dick measuring contest, we can just read some human rights law. Customary and conventional international humanitarian law requires that medical personnel be respected and protected. Similar protection is afforded to journalists and children who do not take part in hostilities. The commission found that the Israeli security forces shot paramedics, journalists, and children who had not lost their protected status. Israel is thus in violation of international.
11 Bravo equals combat. Okay. Jesus. If we can't wait or don't want to, well, look at how we dealt with Sadr City. Tight urban environment, high density of combatants and civilians. We told everyone to leave, gave them time, then rolled in after declaring anyone left inside as willful combatants. It was essentially a free fire zone. I feel like I looked this up before. This was Iraq, right? I don't fucking remember. Oh, yeah, in Baghdad. Why'd you stop doing Israeli research at 2004? I stopped around 2006 or 2007, I think. Just because the next like big, the next huge operations were a lot, but I might read those. At the very least up through 2014, but I also might just catch up or become current. Don't skip Lebanon. Yeah, there's like 20 million things to fucking read. Okay. Okay, I need to do this fucking. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh fuck. Lycan showed up to fight. The Goldstone report. How's the headache? I don't think I have a headache. Didn't we watch the Finkelstein debate with Benny Morris? I remember being super debate, bro. I mean, the problem was it was like I thought it was like a 10-minute debate. I don't think it was like, they didn't go into any depth on anything. Okay, don't care about this. Whose grandma is this? Oh, I need to read this on the, this has to do with the Section 3 shit. Boring. You guys don't care about this. Whose grandma is this?
What you say, short dog with UGK. Do you really want to be like me? Spit game like Snoop and TIP. Pretty girls in the VIP.
Okay. All right, I need to, hold on. He sent me this. Oh god. I should have done this earlier.
Hey, what's up, Steve? I'm Somniant. I'm one of Q's producers.
He's gonna be so mad at me.
On stream once. I thought I'd quickly make this video to show you how to properly set up the overlay. It's only 2 elements. It's gonna help you to not have to adjust anything anymore during the show, right? So we're gonna window capture the clock in first.
Kick. Wait, it's called timer? Wait. Kick timer.exe. All right. Kick camera scene. Kicker keep scene. Okay. Boom. I'm gonna be doing kick or keep soon, so kick.com/destiny. Fucking nerds.
We're gonna go here to clock application. Make sure you put this to Windows 10 capture method. And then if you have a 49 monitor, this should be the same size. Gonna line up this.
Oh my god. What godforsaken fucking format did he send this fucking video to me in? It's a WebM? I can't rewind it? Oh, could I maybe click and drag it to my browser and play it in there? Please just do this. Wait, right click, open with... I should just like click and drag it to the browser window and you think it'll work, right? Oh, I'm just such a big brain guy. Oh, but it's still glitched. I can't rewind it all. Okay, cool. I think his video recording is just glitched. Whatever. Or it's a virus.
Hey, what's up, Steve? I'm Somniant. I'm one of Q's producers. We spoke on stream once. I thought I'd quickly make this video to show you how to properly set up the overlay. It's only 2 elements. It's going to help you to not have to adjust anything anymore during the show, right? So we're going to window capture the clock in first.
Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is all good. Okay.
We're going to go here to clock application. Make sure you put this to...
Yep.
Windows 10.
Yep. Boom, boom, boom.
Capture method.
Okay.
And then if you have a 1440p 69 monitor, this should be the same size, but in case it's not, real easy. Gonna line up this corner on the left, drag it shut until it kind of overlaps. There we go.
Like this? Fuck, it doesn't really matter that much. Good enough.
Now we're gonna alt-click this on the bottom, drag it up.
Thanks.
And that should be it. The function you requested where the round timer automatically goes up once you reset the time has been in the second version of the timer too. So that should be cool too. Right, for Discord, it's a little bit more tricky. For one, you might want to turn off automatically going into streamer mode if you...
Okay, sources, Discord, properties.
You haven't, because the little blue bar that appears on top of Discord messes up all the tolerances on this.
Okay.
So either close it or make sure it doesn't pop up by turning it.
Let's hop in here. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay.
Turning on.
Wait. Right click properties. Yes. Okay.
Automatically clicking that off, right? So there's another trick to it too. We're gonna do Discord capture. We're gonna go to
Window capture method.
Discord.
Okay.
And we're gonna drag it shut a little bit so we have room to work with. So what you're gonna want to do is alt-click this on the side and drag it until it just gets over the gray. There's a lot of black left here. This black gets filled in once the screen becomes a little wider. This is the widest tolerance when it comes to this. Likewise, on the other side, this is the maximum. We're going to keep it there. So we're going to line up this line with the edge of the frame. And then we're going to line up this green line with the other edge of the frame.
Okay. This, and then this. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. I'm not entirely sure what he's gonna have me do that we're not already doing, but boy, am I excited.
A little bit less. There we go. Then what you're going to want to do is make sure roughly this distance on the top and the bottom is about roughly the same, basically. Then, once that's the case, we're going to alt-click, drag this up. line it up, alt-click down, and line it up. This is the maximum real estate Discord ever takes. There's a bit of space on the left and the right now, but once 12 people or 10 people are in the call, it does use that space, leaving a little bit of room for like the green border when they talk. This, if we do it like this should completely self-adjust. You should not have to touch this anymore for the rest of the whole show. I hope that helps. If there's any other technical issues when it comes to this or in general, I'd probably be able to help out. Feel free to reach out. All right, take care.
Wait, that's it? Wait, I feel like this does resize more than that. Am I crazy? Boom, boom. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's because he's doing it equally from like above and below. Let's try this. Like this. And then like this. Up here. Down here. Fuck. Okay, whatever. Maybe, hopefully. Episode, is this 26? Kick or keep, episode 26. 26 weeks through. Oh my god. It's impeding on the glowing border on the box. Stay mad. All right. I love you, YouTubers. You guys are beautiful, wonderful people. Stay safe. Riverina, cappuccino, pappuccino, hoppuccino, moppuccino, cappuccino, cappuccino, appuccino, alpuccino, my dude nerds. I will catch you guys next Stream Arena.